Ladies and gentlemen, let's go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I believe Tech 9 will do the halftime performance coming up on Saturday.
No.
During Avatar?
He will. During Avatar? On Saturday, it's Lil Jon.
Oh, yeah.
What? I said it's Lil Jon doing it on Saturday. Okay. Glad you're excited about it.
Ask him if I'm excited.
You excited?
Yeah! Stupid. You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I'm in a Friday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco and Drake heading up until 2 o'clock. The next 4 hours, we've got you a lot of stuff to get into today. Some football, some baseball, some basketball, some college football, some golf, some stadiums, some ballets, who knows? We'll do that over the next 4 hours. 913-912-4810 is the text line. 913-912-4810 to be a part of the show, part of the conversation today. Here's how it lines up for the next 4 hours. We will talk with Matt Derrick at 11 o'clock from Chiefs Digest, hang out with him and talk about the Chiefs, talk about a number of different things that are going on that we did not get into yesterday that we would have liked to get into and talk about, but we did not. A lot of stadium discussion yesterday. We will talk with Alex Duvall today coming up at noon. Royals Farm Report. We will talk with him about things that are going on in the minor leagues. There's, I don't know how much improvement is there. Those that study it look at it closely to see the improvement that may or may not be happening down in the minor leagues with the pitching development, something we have talked about ad nauseum and the lack thereof with this organization for too long. And there certainly are, I guess, some examples of some improvement or some examples of people just simply performing. One of those being local product Ben Kudrna, who had a really good outing yesterday and has been pitching really well. Alec Marsh makes his major league debut tonight. Second-round pick in the 2019 Major League Baseball draft, 25-year-old. He will be on the mound tonight. Jordan Lyles is sick. So my Jordan Lyles leading the Royals in starts this year takes a little bit of a hit because Singer hasn't missed a start yet. Greinke hasn't missed a start yet, but Jordan Lyles will now miss one tonight. But Alec Marsh making his Major League debut. We'll talk about some of those things. And also, some draft picks, some names that might be out there that we should be looking at, becoming familiar with, maybe connected with the Royals and their scouts and what some of the draft nicks are hearing out there. And who maybe Alex Duvall would like to see the Royals go and draft. And so those things I'm certainly interested to hear from Alex about the Royals and the Royals farm system. He's from Royals Farm Report. And then Mick Schaefer will join us, KSHB 41 Sports Director. We'll talk with him from 12:30 to 2. And we'll hear the cuts as well here in the show before today's show is over. 913-912-4810 is the text line to join us. Thank you to Google Fiber being a part of the show. As always, award-winning internet, no data caps, no contracts, none of that stuff that is the fine print that can, those hidden fees that grab you over the course of months and years. Not happening at Google Fiber. Now available up to 5 gigs. And the 1 gig internet from Google Fiber still the same price since 2012. So thank you to Google Fiber. 913-912-4810. Did you watch the match last night, Josh Brisco?
I was checking in and out of the match. I could not fully bring myself to make the entirety of my evening be about the one time it couldn't be about Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce.
It's odd.
But I was following along, and admittedly and ashamedly, kind of floored as to how it went.
You don't have kids, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay, so you guys didn't have like practice or anything last night?
No.
Or, like a baseball game or anything? Didn't have like a birthday party?
Nope.
Didn't like go to the pool or anything? So what was more important than watching Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce on national TV take on the Golden State Warriors in whatever the match it is? I don't care if it's beer pong or if it's chess or if it's just billiards, darts. I don't care. Bocce. What could you have possibly been doing, Josh?
Game night with a bunch of my friends from around the country.
There it is. Makes sense. Yeah, just gaming.
I got a
with
second
friends.
screen for all of this. You know, I saw what was happening.
Oh, did you? Did you hear what was happening though? You saw it, but did you have your headset on? Were you talking about?
No, I
guys,
definitely missed some.
All right, guys. It's what's the plan here? Is we're gonna go in. We're gonna go in this Leroy Jenkins.
We were playing League of Legends, and I was actively ignoring the golf.
Oh no, he went in. Oh my goodness, he went in. Oh no, we're toast. We're done. I sat down, had the night cleared, mainly because baseball practice got canceled because it was too hot.
Oh man, you're
Appreciate
in that
it.
season now too.
Appreciate it. I DVR'd it, recorded it, because I was going to come back and watch it in its entirety.
Start from the beginning.
Yeah, when I got home, I wanted to see it. I've been interested in seeing this. I didn't really have that much interest in Mahomes and Josh Allen last year.
Interesting.
I
watched
didn't.
more of that.
Really?
Yeah, I did. I don't know why.
It's the Mahomes and
It
Kelce.
might be just the fatigue of it all.
Yeah,
I think Kelsey's
Mahomes and
fascinating.
Kelce and the Curry Klay Thompson, and I'm just curious and interested as to what would take place in the match, what we would hear, because there's typically funny banter, and the Chiefs were the heavy underdogs in that game, and Mahomes is not typically the dog in different events. When he is, he wins, whether that is on the football field or apparently in golf. And Travis Kelce already told people they do not lose in Vegas.
He was right.
And they won yet again in Vegas. I was glued to the screen. I was watching every second of it. I was listening to what was going on. I was more into the match, than any of the previous matches. Sounds like you didn't care about it at all. That's too bad.
If they were playing football or basketball, I definitely would have been watching. I only watch golf that's owned by Saudi Arabia now, actually, so.
So you live for it?
I live for this thing.
I knew it. So I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I was also very surprised that Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce ended up winning, and winning by a wide margin. I was also surprised at how poor of a golfer Klay Thompson is.
Yeah, that I think is. We were on the same page of Steph's got to be a better golfer than Mahomes, and just from what we've seen, like American Century and all that. And it sure seems like Klay has the inside track on Travis Kelce from a golf perspective. We were wrong. Congratulations, Chiefs.
And by the way, by that bad of a golfer, or that poor of a golfer, is a relative term because, if I'm out there on national TV with people watching and a teammate who's supposed to be on my side, who apparently put money on my team, who is only finding pleasure in razzing me and making fun of me and poking fun at me, not like Draymond is going to be worried about losing any cash. By the way, if an NFL player yesterday at a team facility put money on the match, that they would be suspended for 6 games.
Yes,
They did that
correct.
randomly.
Correct. Absolutely right.
Is that a team event, though? Because it is sort of the Chiefs. So if Kelce placed money on himself and Patrick Mahomes to win the match, is that technically a team event, or is that independent of everything related to the NFL? This is the fine print. These are the stipulations and technicalities that go on that the NFLPA needs to make sure these players certainly know. But it was odd. Draymond Green was razzing his teammate obviously his teammate on the Warriors, but his teammate on the golf course. Von Miller with the football side, Draymond Green on the basketball side. So it's a relative term, but surprising Klay Thompson struggled the way that he did, and Travis Kelce was the best or second best golfer out there of the four.
Draymond did make sure to take some time to attempt the worst beer chug I've ever seen, so that was really important. I appreciated him taking some time to do that.
Yeah, as somebody who's never chugged a beer, that was embarrassing.
Better to stay silent and be assumed a fool than try to chug a beer and to show it to the entire world.
That is the famous quote.
I think that's what Abraham Lincoln said.
That is the famous quote. So yes. It was entertaining. I liked it. I don't know how many people. I know that people on Twitter were watching and liking it.
Yeah,
locally.
It was a good Twitter event,
but doesn't mean that the masses around the city were watching it and paying attention to it. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. Maybe I enjoyed it because Mahomes and Kelce were winning.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that it was flipped to where it's like, oh, they need to come through. Oh, off the green again. Hope Steph Curry put it right next to the pin. No, it was Curry struggling. Klay Thompson wasn't all that good. And obviously the Chiefs are a better dynasty than the Warriors. I think that's what we learned last night.
I think last night was sort of the rubber match for the dynasty talk. I think you're right.
Yes.
I mean, how many other opportunities are the Warriors going to have to directly defeat the Chiefs at something?
I can't imagine another one.
Also, is Von Miller trying to make his way to Kansas City? How do we square that circle? Because I think that Buffalo deal is not terribly movable, but Draymond... They got Jordan Poole. Sorry, I did miss, a large portion of it. Did Jordan Poole show up at any point for Team Golden State?
No.
Okay.
No, he did not.
Okay. Well, so then I'm choosing to believe that Draymond is doing some light tampering right now. Maybe Von Miller is too.
Although, actually, I think he did show up. He was the one that got hit by the golf ball from Klay Thompson.
That would make a lot of sense.
Only thing left is Steph to hit Jordan Poole. And all three of them would have taken place with that. But yes, they never showed the update on the guy that apparently got hit. The ball bounced like 20 feet, and hearing the players who are mic'd up saying he went straight to the ground. Oh look, the EMT, they're still over there. They're still he's still on the ground. Not once did we ever get a video or a replay. I don't know how bad it was, but it's also interesting. In the background, you hear Kelce and like Klay and Steph, and their mics are on, and then Patrick going, what is this, 250 yards? This is 250? I got to see that people need to leave. I don't know. Am I going to get it up on the green? Like, I think he's still down. He's still hurt. I don't know. Maybe I go, I hit a 3 last time. Iron, do I go 4 iron here? I don't know. Kels, what do you think? He's not moving right now. We never got it up there. We never saw it. And then Ernie Johnson was like, maybe they should check on that guy over there that went down. Because apparently Klay Thompson's ball in flight hit him, and they were joking with him, and Patrick tossed him a Sharpie. He was like, here, Klay, you're going to need this one. You're going to need this. And they never went up there because like he's still being looked at. Like he went straight to the ground after it hit him.
Klay's a sharpshooter, man. We knew this. He's an assassin. You know how hard it is to wipe somebody out from... How far do we think that was? Did we get yardage on that? About 200?
Yeah. Texas Barkley says, you guys moved on. You're really concerned, huh? I think they might have drove right past him.
I'm looking to see if there is an update now, and I haven't seen anything.
He's probably fine. Probably fine. He's got a little knock on the head. It's no big deal.
It's like a Tom and Jerry cartoon where it gets in immediately. Boop.
You haven't seen Righteous Gemstones, I'm guessing, on HBO.
No, I haven't. It seems like it was made for me, though. The final episode of season 2, when the two firstborns on the bigger church TV, what it's really based about, and one of them's hit with a slingshot right in the forehead, and as they keep talking, it just keeps growing. Every time it goes back to him, like the knot is bigger and bigger till it looks like there's a baseball coming out of his head. Like, it's a little bit like that. I imagine that's what happened to this particular poor soul that got hit by the golf ball. I did enjoy it. I want to hear some clips from this. Von Miller was very much... because he was on the NFL side, very much in favor of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce to win. But also, you get a glimpse of the way that other NFL players feel about the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Here's Von Miller talking about whether it was Draymond or others that picked Steph and Klay to win. It would be Von Miller.
on the match.
Hang on. So you have these settled. Mahomes talking trash. Von Miller bet against Mahomes.
Von Miller. Yep, that's one. That's one. Von Miller. There you go. Got it.
Man, I told y'all, man, y'all cannot bet against Travis Kelce or Patrick Mahomes. Hey, Trav, tell him, man, you cannot bet against Travis Kelce, man. NFL, baby. I know.
I told him early, I'm the starter. He's the closer. Did I not tell you this?
My guy's going crazy, man. Y'all know what it is, man.
Well, you can't bet against Mahomes and Kelce, man.
I feel really dumb for not betting on Mahomes and Kelce.
I made one bet last night, and it was the first hole to be tied. And I got it right. It was one of the few holes that they tied on the first. I mean, the heavy favorites, every hole was Steph and Clay.
Oh, yeah, you could have just – could you have bet every hole pre-match?
Yes. Hole 1, hole 2, all the way through 12, you could have bet every single hole. And if you would have bet the Kelce and Mahomes to win hole 2, 3, and 4, which they did, you could have made a lot of money last night. But I didn't have that much confidence in them. Let's play the other Von Miller clip because, again, this sort of goes into – I told you guys, don't bet against Mahomes and Kelce. Told you guys. And this is the second to last hole, I believe, that they ended up before they ultimately won the match. And it was Steph, if he missed a shot, like ultimately it was going to be like the Chiefs were going to win. But here's Von Miller in the background as these putts are getting ready to take place.
Boy, Steph, know what's going to happen if we don't make this thing.
Oh, that's that time Mahomes trash talk.
Bit minor physics, huh?
Oh, shoot. Hey, when Pat Mahomes start trash talking, it's over.
Loop-de-loop around that thing.
It's over. You know that feeling, huh?
Like right middle track.
When he started talking, it's over. I bet you know it was. We start congratulating guys. Hey, man, you're a great player, man. It's over. It really is.
Von Miller. When Mahomes starts trash talking, it's over. When he starts congratulating guys, it's over. Draymond, I bet you know that feeling well. I mean,
it goes back to that Max Crosby clip too. Remember them talking about all their trash talk, and then afterwards Mahomes comes up, "Oh, respect, you're a great player." That's after it's literally over. That is a perfect observation.
When Mahomes starts trash talking, you know it's over. Or in the 49ers game in the Super Bowl, when he gets hit on the sideline and he gets up, he's like, "Good hit! Hey, good hit!" But when the ball bounced out of bounds and went behind him, because the ball bounced back behind the first down marker, is why we got Rose Bowl right. If Mahomes holds on to the football, we don't see that play because that brought up fourth down in inches or whatever. And there's no way they were going to do a quarterback sneak. So we saw the Rose Bowl play on fourth down that almost scored a touchdown. And that was after Mahomes got hit pretty hard by the dude who then was hurt. I can't remember who it was that hit Mahomes, but he was the one laying on the ground and Mahomes got up. Good hit. Hey, good hit. When he's talking trash, you know it is over in that one. Mahomes was talking trash and maybe went a little below the belt. And you see how sensitive the Warriors still are about the 3-1 series lead that was blown to the Cavs. And you didn't quite hear. It's tough to hear, so I cut out the first part of it because you can't really hear it. But Mahomes says something about Clay stepping in a hole and then says, that 3-1 over there. And we pick it up from there.
Hey, Pat, what did you just say?
What?
What you say?
I was told Clay to watch out for that hole.
Wow, 3-1 jokes. Wow.
Ooh, that was a cheap shot.
That is a cheap shot. Wow.
There we go, Clay.
I
Can't catch a break right now, man.
Hey, man. Hey, you hate to see it. Let's go, Clay. Talk to him, Dre.
That boy Dre
Come
all
over
in
here talking about 3-1.
That boy putting a dig out of his shoes all in the line.
Like Joey Burrow
He's
ain't
stepping all in your line.
home a year ago. Oh, you talking about 3-1. They just won a Super Bowl. I don't care.
Like Joe Burrow didn't send your ass home a year ago. And then Von Miller, they just won the Super Bowl. I don't care. I mean, clearly there's, and it would make sense because that's still brought up to the Warriors who have won 4 championships. But 3-1 is still something that clearly bothers them. That Mahomes with the, watch out for that hole over there, that 3-1. Whoa, Pat, what did you just say? Did you just make it? Wow. Like Joe Burrow didn't send your ass home a year ago. And then Vaughn, they just won the Super Bowl.
They just won the Super
They just
Bowl,
won.
man.
I don't care. I don't care at all. Don't drop the 3-1 joke to the Warriors, because Steph and Clay didn't say anything, but Draymond was not having it.
Speaking of taking shots below the belt, as long as Draymond was keeping his hands to himself and the Chiefs season still on the tracks, everything's fine. They can talk all they want.
Yes.
Don't throw any knees, all right?
And Barkley weighed in on Draymond's talking and Draymond trash talking. And, free agency period hasn't really started yet. Those that are free agents are still free agents. But here's Draymond talking about, here's Barkley talking about Draymond's trash talk.
Draymond talk a lot for a guy that ain't got no job.
All day.
The eve of free agency. He ain't got no job. He should be nice to me.
You gotta leave it there. Leave it off to the side.
Maybe you can break some news for us after this putt goes down there, Draymond. Yeah, Dre, you going to Detroit on this red eye tonight, or you going back to the Bay?
Draymond talks a lot for a guy that ain't got no job.
I think his job is that he is the shadow GM of the Warriors at this point.
Probably. That's probably the case. And then one more that I wanted to play, and this is Barkley again having some fun after the match was over. So Kelsey and Mahomes won the match. They then had the famous Wynn golf resort hole that is surrounded by, water and whatever. So they had like a $5 million hole-in-one challenge. Closest to the hole was going to win $100,000. If you get it within 5 feet, it's like $1 million to a charity of No Kid Going Hungry. And so the match is over. You don't have to be serious anymore. Sterling Holmes made her first appearance as they were in the cart together. Here's Barkley.
Look at that cutie pie. So this is a good family time here, as they've already clinched the match.
Hey, you know what? I think that's a smart move by Pat, because he don't want his kids standing out there on the fairway.
Actually, the fairway, you're safe.
Hey, can I do some business here?
Actually, the fairway, you're safe, which is great. Because they were spraying it all over them. It's a smart move. Keep her out of the fairway with these guys. The fairway, you were safe. And Kelsey, for as good as he played, as well as he played last night, being the second best golfer, at worst. Maybe you can make an argument that he was on par, maybe a little bit better than Steph. I don't know. They won the dang thing. Kelsey, before the match, seemed like, there was going to be some seriousness to it, but he's also there to party.
I'm just a natural sweater already, so it's not going to affect me too bad. I'm not sure if I'm sweating from the sun or from Encore Beach Club last night, so we'll figure it out. But the temperature's hot, so the heat is already brought.
All right, so how many beers in the cart today?
There's going to be a plethora of beers. We're not going to throw a number count on it. There's also going to be Casa Azules, baby.
Nice,
Don't forget your tequila seltzer.
He's a pro.
Plethora of beers.
Plethora.
There will be a plethora of beers that will be consumed, including video of Kelsey chugging a beer, doing it correctly.
Maybe needing to give some tips to Draymond.
Draymond not chugging a beer. Also, Draymond getting tips on the course about the etiquette of being on a golf course when he kept talking in people's backswing.
I think that should be allowed.
And then walking across people's line as they were lining up for putts, and Draymond's just walking around the green, just walking and cutting right in front of them. And
I think golf has improved with one anarchist on each side.
Yeah, and then Clay's lining up his putt and getting ready to go, and Draymond's standing there, and the sun's behind him, so his shadow is in the middle of the line, and Steph's like, "See, you got to back up, Dre. See, your shadow, it's in the line." It's like, I mean, and so Dre's like, "So what are you doing right now?" Like they marked, he had the divot on the green that Steph put the ball, right on the green, and he had to go and fix the divot. And he's like, "So what are you doing right there?" He's like, "Well, ball has made a mark there, so you got to fix that.
Can't just leave this whole thing looking like your jumper, man. I mean, we got to clean this up."
It would have been great if somebody was wearing a backpack while playing.
Excellent.
That's what Draymond looks like when he's shooting a three.
Excellent.
And, of course, Doug Stewart getting some shine last night on TNT in the match. Did you see that?
No.
They were showing different tweets from people watching the match, and this was like the fourth hole, and they showed the tweet from Doug Stewart. Said, "This is weird. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce usually let guys from San Francisco get the lead before beating them." And Barkley was like, "That's funny." That's pretty funny. Doug Stewart, well done.
See, Doug Stewart knows that Chuck said I was funny. That's a win.
I mean, you know what? You got it. You won. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. The Royals did win. Freddie Fermin continued his thing. He keeps doing a thing. Fermin and Michael Garcia, guys that we spent the last year and a half, especially the offseason and spring training, discussing a lot. I think we had, Freddie Fermin Day? Yes. I think that was Thursday before the Super Bowl.
And we said it. Look, as soon as they put Fermin in right field full time, this dude's going to come alive.
Absolutely. Garcia, I've been saying, is the best third baseman on this team for a long time. I've been trying to tell everybody that it's about Michael, and Bobby should just stay at short.
Yeah.
Those guys continue to do their things. And AAA, Alec Marsh, his 3 starts, decent. Now he makes his Major League debut tonight against Bobby Miller, who made his Major League debut for the Dodgers earlier this year, and Bobby Miller's been awesome. So a couple of rookies going at it tonight. And then, of course, a few other things to weigh in on the stadium debate, the stadium conversation. And I think there are 3 groups of people in this stadium conversation. And the big league club sort of interacting with those 3. I want to get into that conversation as well. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, and Drake. We head up until 2 o'clock. We will talk with Matt Derrick at 11 o'clock. Some Chiefs football, some NFL football conversation coming up at 11. Alex Duvall, Royals Farm Report at noon. We'll talk some Royals minor leagues and some draft and things like that. The Royals do get the win yesterday, walk-off fashion, and while Ramirez has an amazing play and a straight steal of home in the 10th inning to look like the Guardians were going to win. Instead, it was the Royals getting to Emmanuel Clase and someone who doesn't blow many saves, and yet they found a way to get it done. They started off with a man on second. That was great.
That was,
certainly helped them get closer to that.
Clutch situations.
Yes. And I was wondering, I'm like, okay, are they going to bunt him over to third? Isbell, I think it was. Are they going to bunt Isbell over to third with Nicky Lopez? And then there was a clock violation, so Nicky Lopez started out 0-1. And I thought, okay, well, that may make the decision for them. And he takes the first pitch, which is strike two. Okay, well, they are definitely not going to do that. And instead, he found a way to get the ball over to the right side, and then it was a misplay by the Guardians. And eventually, the Royals get the 2 runs home on the Fermin 2-out, 2 RBI double, and the walk-off for the Royals' backup catcher. And somebody that we've talked about a few times already, and we mentioned it last week that when we were talking about Salvador Perez and we're talking about trades and potential trades, that the Royals have to assess and look in the mirror and say, what do we have in Freddie Fermin? Do we have somebody who's a really good backup catcher? Do we have somebody that could be a bridge from Salvi to whoever the next catcher is for this team if they were to be competing for a division in 3 or 4 years? Or is Fermin that guy who makes his major league debut as a 27-year-old who's 28 this year, but first taste of the big leagues last year, that there's not the Major League Baseball tread on the Freddie Fermin tires, that maybe he can play a little bit longer into his 30s if, in fact, there's something here with Freddie Fermin, who in 30 games and 85 plate appearances, Josh, you look a little thirsty there.
A little thirsty. What's the sample size, would you say?
It's a small sample size.
Okay.
Batting .286, getting on base at almost .350, and slugging .506. He's got an OPS plus of 133, does Freddie Fermin. And he has been awesome. He's leading the Royals in OPS plus. The next closest, if you're talking about players that would be close to everyday players or even main subs, everyday players or main subs, the closest of OPS plus is Vinny Pasquantino at 110, Nick Pratto 109, Salvi at 105, Edward Olivares at 104. Freddie Fermin at 133. He's 33% better than what your average hitter would be, is what you're getting for this guy. And we noted earlier in the season when we were talking about, I think it was maybe 19 games in for Fermin. It was a month ago or so that I had mentioned since the second half of last year in the minor leagues for Freddie Fermin, and then on into what he's doing this year, he has been OPSing at damn near 1,000. Now, he's not OPSing at 1,000 with the Royals right now. It's only 856 that he's OPSing at.
I can overlook it.
Real scrub this Freddie Fermin player is. But the second half of AAA last year, he OPS'd over 1,000. He goes into the Venezuelan Winter League. OPS is over 1,000. Spring training this year, OPS is at almost 1,000. And so far this year, he's OPSing at like 860 at the big league level. I don't know what changed for Fermin, because in 2021, he OPS'd at 790. In 2019, as a 24-year-old, he OPS'd at 715. So, yes, he steadily improved. 24-year-old OPS 715, 25-year-old OPSing at, or 26-year-old, I should say, in 2021, OPSing at 795. And then slowly making his way last year. And then, boom, just sort of been different has Fermin. I don't know what they have in him, but damn, it's exciting because he's hitting the ball hard. And whether he's framing pitches or not, part of that, and it's one of the things I may talk to Alex Duvall about, part of that may become obsolete in Major League Baseball. If they're going to have the robo-umps, do you have to frame pitches anymore?
That's a good question.
Just catch the ball.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Just catch the ball. Call a game. Work with the pitcher to call the game. And with Zach Greinke, you don't even have to call the game. He's calling his own game. So if you've got robo-umps out there, framing pitches becomes less valuable. So that deep throw runners out. There you go. Catch the ball, throw runners out at second base. And you don't have to worry about framing and all of those things. Block the ball, right? Block the ball if there's somebody at third. But the framing aspect, I think, is close to being obsolete as a catcher. Now, that may make catchers, especially those that are sort of defensive guys that can make their way to the big leagues as defensive first catchers, that great backup catchers may not ultimately be as valuable anymore because, man, he steals some strikes in a game from this guy or that guy, and we'll see. But that becomes less valuable if you can just simply hit and swing the bat and catch the ball and block it. And that's really what's going to be needed for a catcher moving forward. And I think they at least have a guy who can be a backup catcher to Salvi. That it's not the Drew Butera to Cam Gallagher to trying to find that guy. That Fermin is a player that at least fills that role, and to me fills it pretty well so far. And I'm excited about what he can be moving forward. That I think there's a chance that this isn't just sporadic play at a high level because he's not catching every single day.
I think you can be optimistic and just excited and happy that there's a new thing to watch for. That, you know, we've had a couple guys throughout the course of this season where, you know, early it was Vinny Pasquantino and obviously that has ended poorly. We've had moments with Michael Garcia and Samad Taylor. We begin to ask some of those questions, and, you know, I don't know if anyone's heard this. You can take a drink if you want. It's an evaluation year, is what some people are saying. So you can go ahead and
let's do that for me.
Have a little, that can be your sip.
Yes.
But when you look at a guy like Fermin, where there is some unknown and good moments, it can be your worst case scenario. Hold on, knock on. Your quote-unquote worst-case scenario could be that he's Drew Butera, a guy that is obviously hitting the majors in his late 20s, which means he's under team control for the entirety of the rest of his 20s into his first year of arbitration. He'll be 32 years old in 2027. I looked it up for you. So that means
his first year of free agents he'll be 35 years old?
2029, and so yeah, and I think he'll be in his early 50s at that point. But that is a useful player for you there. The other element of it is maybe more macro in some, or more micro in some senses, because it's about this year's Royals team. But yesterday in the Border Patrol, Jesse Newell was talking about those numbers that I brought up when he tweeted them out for the first time like a month ago, of how the Royals have been the most unclutch hitting team in baseball by a sizable amount. And one angle on that Jesse was talking about yesterday that I do think makes some sense and would at least come to fruition yesterday is that it is statistically incredibly unlikely that they would be as bad as they were through the first, let's say, 70 games at that point. They would keep that pace up for the rest of the year. That on some level, quote-unquote, clutchness is, if not arbitrary, random, right?
Yeah,
and so bringing Freddie Fermin to pinch hit in the 10th, I don't know if he's got the clutch gene or if he just got a hit at a pace you would expect if you zoomed out and looked at the team over the course of the year. But just even a moment like that, I know we are really on a daily basis trying to decide how the Royals make the city feel. But it was a really nice moment. It did reflect on some at least better luck in a quote-unquote clutch scenario, and we get to talk about Freddie Fermin today in a way that's looking forward optimistically. Like, that's a good day of baseball.
And I'm always fine with doing that, of talking about somebody that's like, okay, in an evaluation year, I'll get a drink here in a second, have they found something in an evaluation year that John Sherman talked about yesterday, that J.J. Piccolo talked about on Monday, of finding pieces of this team in the organization this year, and then supplementing, whether that be with trades in this trade deadline, trades in the offseason, free agency, which, I'll believe it when I see it on the free agency front. And I think Royals fans are right to have a high level of skepticism So we'll see if they end up going out and, paying a decent amount of money for any free agents. But there's at least some things here that are. Last year, Vinny Pasquantino was somebody that I was not planning on being incredibly enamored with. That it was, hey, he had a really good end of the 2021 year. So what's he going to be in? We'll see. We'll see. And then he just kept doing it and kept doing it. It's like, okay, maybe they have something here. Well, that's a guy who played every day. As opposed to Fermin. We'll see. I also forgot to point out that he was OPSing over 1,000 in his stint with AAA this year before he got called up. So that would be second half
Seems
of AAA,
good.
Venezuelan spring training, and then AAA this year before being with the big leagues. So something changed and clicked with Fermin. I don't know what it is, but I hope it continues, and I want to see him play more. And that is nothing against Salvi, because I love watching Salvi play, obviously. But something about watching Freddie Fermin just seems to come through, and he's got a fun sense about him. You're not getting an AH. You wouldn't be going from Salvi to some, just a brand new leather shoe.
The unwritten rules White Sox catcher.
Pierzynski?
Yeah, I think so. One of those D-backs.
Yeah.
Not D-backs.
I don't think he played for Arizona.
I don't think he did.
No, I doubt that. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. There are 3 groups of people, I believe, in this stadium/Royals entire debate conversation. These 3 groups. There's one group in particular that I'm fascinated by in how they are perceiving the discussion and what's going on with the big league club as it relates to downtown North Kansas City or wherever. We'll take a timeout. I'll talk about that group coming up next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com.
All right, 913-912-4810 is the text line, 913-912-4810. We'll talk a little bit more with Mick Schaefer coming up in the noon hour about the press conference yesterday. Ken Rosenthal at The Athletic has a piece on the trades and updates and things like that, and he's got, anytime somebody's going to be talking about around Major League Baseball with trades, the Royals are going to be listed and talked about. So he's got part of that about the Royals. J.J. Piccolo talking on Monday to Annie Rogers and discussing and essentially saying everybody is on the table. There are no untradeable assets for the Royals right now at any part of their organization, big leagues, minor leagues, whatever. When you're in the position that they are, you don't really have somebody that's untouchable. So they will listen on everybody that they call about. Call about Bobby Witt, we'll listen. Also, damn sure better be. I mean, if somebody called the Reds about Ellie De La Cruz, they'd say no thank you. We're not going to listen, okay? But if you call the Royals about Bobby Witt, they should be listening.
I know you want to do the stadium group thing, but the quote from...
I have to do that.
The quote from we have to. There's the quote from Piccolo in that story that got me and got a few other people on Twitter was essentially saying, if it's minor league depth, the quote is directly, if it's minor league depth, and I don't want to say depth is having a number of guys and quality players that can help too, but with the core players we have here, we want to add as much as we can around them. If not in the deadline, it's going to be this offseason, going into, well, if there's a deal to be made sooner rather than later, or excuse me, that's on the deals. On the player acquisition of guys that are closer to contributing sooner, while some of it depends on who's available from the club the Royals are dealing with, Piccolo said he's looking at talent ready to help the big league team sooner rather than later. That's Annie's words of JJ around those quotes, and that just... Which
would match up to things he's already said.
I know. I'm not surprised by it, but I'm still a little annoyed by it.
Reiterating. I mean, here's the thing. If they're going to be doing that, then they must have a plan of, here's where we think this team is, here are the players we think we can build around, and here are the players we're going to get in free agency.
They'd better have that plan.
Honestly, like if they think there's going to be players that they're going to be trading for that can help the big league club sooner rather than later, and you want to put this thing on the ballot in April, how far does spending money this offseason on free agents and saying, okay, you've got some pieces now that you're building around, and you've got some supplemental pieces that are there. All right, maybe the Royals can, quote-unquote, compete this year. We'll see what that plan ultimately is. But as it relates to the stadium, and it's a good tie-in, the issue that the Royals are running into, and they'll continue to run into, is no matter what they can say about whether the Chiefs are slow playing it, whether they've got to figure out all these different hoops to jump through to be able to get out of the lease, and it's not easy. There are more layers to the Royals finding a new stadium rather than a team that is not tied to a football team in a lease. But the burden of proof is on one party here. John Sherman says they're the party of urgency. But it's on one party. It's the Royals. The burden of proof there. The Chiefs can slow play it for a better deal all they want because they're not the ones out in front saying we want a new stadium, which is why John Sherman is saying, well, the Chiefs are probably appreciative of us out taking the bullets for them because the Chiefs may not be the ones that have an urgency because whatever the new lease is will have to benefit them. And if they don't have an urgency, they can sit back and wait for a better benefit for them. And it's the Royals that are taking the bullets out front as the team saying, no, we're leaving the K. Cool. Okay, you can leave the K and you can break the lease, but here's what's going to happen. And whatever you get from Jackson County, it's going to have to benefit us too. Conversation that I want to get into a little bit deeper with Mick Schaefer coming up in the show is how much the big league struggles and the frustration there is spilling over into stadium talk. That I'm so pissed about what's going on right now that bleep you on the stadium. Because if it was the Chiefs saying, we're going to build a brand new retractable roof, beautiful state-of-the-art. It's going to have more luxury boxes. It's going to be non-revenue sharing revenue that we can bring in, which then can help with signing bonuses, cash on hand, that you get free agents. You can spend a little bit more money on free agents. You go, well, it's a salary cap league. Right. But some free agents want a specific sort of cash up front. And if you give guaranteed money, you have to have that money available and put in escrow. So the Chiefs have been able to maneuver that by giving the year-by-year guarantees to Patrick Mahomes, those guaranteed mechanisms that are there. So not every year did the Chiefs have to say, well, now we got to put, or when they signed Mahomes, we got to put $350 million right now into an escrow. No, next year, now they've got to put what 2025's guaranteed deal. Now we got to put $30 million in escrow next year. Okay, now we got to put another $30, $35, $40 million in escrow next year. Those guaranteed mechanisms, because the entire bill doesn't come due right away. Some players aren't okay with that. Some players would like different cash aspects of it. And so if the Chiefs were to present it as, look, there's revenue sharing and there's non-revenue sharing. Naming, GEHA Field, that's not revenue sharing. The revenue they get from GEHA, the Chiefs keep. The revenue they get from luxury suites, the Chiefs keep. The revenue from the concessions and parking, I believe parking. Don't quote me on that. The other ones I am absolutely right about. Parking may be, I think parking, but certainly ticket sales are not. I mean, that's not specific to the Chiefs. That does go into revenue sharing. But there are elements that are not shared with the league that you can keep. And you say, well, how does that impact the Chiefs? Just explained. Being more liquid can help you with certain contract negotiations with players. The burden of proof is on the Royals. And how much that frustration of what's going on right now. Because these three groups, there's one group in particular that I'm going to be fascinated by. And I think that one group in particular is where the Royals and the packaging, the messaging has to come through. One group is, these are the three groups, I believe, against the stadium. Don't want the Royals to move. You're probably not going to convince them. And it's easy to say, why don't you focus on the big league club? You don't even have to say I'm against the stadium. You can just go, yeah, maybe down the road you can present it as, oh, yeah, that may benefit. But how about this? Get a winning baseball team first, and then I'll care about the stadium, where you may just simply be against the stadium anyway. It's an easy way to point the focus at something besides, I just don't want the Royals to move from Kauffman. But there is that group. There's a group that is for the idea of moving downtown. And I would guess the team record and performance at the big leagues is independent of the stadium that you want the organization and the team to ultimately play in or location. The third group is the one that I'm most fascinated by, that they're not sure either way. The question with that group to me is, what impact does this sorry big league club have on their opinion and skewing their positive or negative views on, am I for this? I can see the benefits. I can see the negatives. Like if I'm going and voting, I'm not sure which way I'm going. Yeah, I guess it's right. I mean, they're not winning. I mean, is this going to help them win? I don't know. You got to explain that to me. How much the issues and annoyance and frustration with the big leagues would spill over into the group that's sort of undecided. The undecided voters right now. That's going to be fascinating because there are two groups of, I'm for it, I'm against it. The big league part of it can weigh either way. But that, I just don't know. That's where what happens this year and the offseason and expectations for next year's club can go a long way to if this thing gets on the April ballot.
It'll be fascinating because there's this circular logic that Sherman talked about yesterday of, all this revenue in the district. We'll be able to go back into the payroll and we're going to be able to win more and play, pay more guys. And then you have this group of Royals fans right now that are saying, give me one single solitary reason to be there and maybe a few wins along the way. But they'd like to have this district so they can make more money and expand the payroll. We've got not an Ouroboros, an Ouroboros?
Sure.
Yeah, a royal eating its own tail.
Yeah.
Someone wants to Photoshop Slugger eating his own tail. I don't know. That's a big reach, but it's fascinating.
Austin Powers, fat bastard. I eat because I'm unhappy, and I'm unhappy because I eat. It's a vicious circle. And it is.
It
and
sure
that
is.
circular logic that the Royals are going through as well.
We're saying circle the bases a few more times.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We'll circle the wagons around Matt Derrick.
Men, it's summertime. That means getting outdoors, having fun with friends and family, going on vacation, and so much more. It's also the time when we
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Drake, and, of course, Matt Derrick hanging out with us. Matt Derrick, Path to Training Camp. Anytime we talk with Matt Derrick, the Path to Training Camp is presented by Premier Volvo Cars of Overland Park. Premier Volvo Cars of Overland Park, the only Volvo dealership in Kansas City, has the largest inventory of new 2023 Volvos in the Midwest. Premier Volvo Cars of Overland Park or at premiervolvocarsoverlandpark.com. Also, Zero Res. There's something about a clean home that makes you feel better. Zero Res KC and Rally House. Shop Rally House for all your favorite Kansas City area team gear and local KC merchandise. 16 KC Metro locations and online at rallyhouse.com. Your city, your house, Rally House. Matt Derrick, the Path to Training Camp. It is being blazed in 18 days. Will be rookies reporting up there in St. Joe, and veteran Matt Derrick will be reporting as well.
Experienced radio professional
That's
Matt
right.
Derrick.
You just started talking, and then the mic was like 5 feet away from the face. Like, I need
was
that.
just looking up and realizing I don't have a microphone. I should probably
that
get on
thing.
that. I might need that. I had my headphones on. Well, not my headphones. I didn't bring my headphones today.
You had a pair of headphones.
Yeah.
You know, you were halfway.
I'm
prepared.
clearly got 4th of July brain. I'm out of here.
You know what?
So,
Good for you.
There you go.
You got senioritis or I don't know,
I tell you what,
patriotitis.
I just my eye starts twitching. I think every time everybody starts talking about July 18th and training camp because
Really?
it's going to be here in a hurry.
It absolutely will. It will be here quickly, and rookies are reporting there. What the actual report date for veterans is? What, the 22nd or 23rd? I think it's the 22nd.
I think it's the 20th.
Yeah, it starts with a 2, though. I'm convinced
because
about
it's the
that.
final day. Yeah, it could be 21st because it's the final day of the rookie mini camp. So I guess that runs 19, 20, 21. Then the players show up and.
Yeah, so anyway, even whenever the particular specific dates are, the one small little nugget as an aside, as we've talked about Chris Jones a lot, and will it get done before training camp? Will it be into training camp? And waiting on Quinnen Williams. The Jets have said they want Quinnen Williams to be done before training camp. They play the Hall of Fame game. So their entire team report date is the 19th. So it is technically before the Chiefs, head to training camp by a couple days. So if they were to get something done before training camp for the Jets, it would be a small window. Of working with Jones before training camp opens up.
That is a nice little quirk.
But it could help them get more serious and down to the finer details of, here are the parameters of things that we're kind of looking at. Quinnen Williams' deal gets done. Okay, let's go hammer this out. Let's get together, hammer this out. Let's get this thing done. And we've got like 48 hours before he's even going to report to training camp anyway. So it is a small little thing to keep an eye on that the Jets playing in the Hall of Fame game report, I think, 3 days before the Chiefs do. And that's just entire team, not just rookies get there. Their entire team reports before that. So small little date to keep in mind.
Small date,
just as we're watching and paying attention to all the Chris Jones stuff, and he's now declared he's going to be Defensive Player of the Year this year.
There you go. Yep.
So
made his prediction for the season, so we don't have to ask him now.
Yep, going to go ahead. What are your goals for the season this year, Defensive Player of the Year? Why don't you let people know? I did. I tweeted it out.
Oh man, you're going to start getting me on
June 28th.
on the training camp tropes.
Really? What are your goals this year?
I've been doing this long enough now that I have become completely and totally cynical. So there are things that I hate about the job.
Okay.
And training camp has a lot of things I hate about the job. And report day is a huge one because I guess in 2016 maybe I cared a little bit about the things I hadn't heard before, but now I do not care. 8 training camps in, I do not care what item you need to bring to training camp to feel at home. I don't care what's your favorite snack food, anything like that. Once we get on the podium, I don't care what your goals are, because I know what your goals are. It's one of a couple of things.
Trying to win the Super Bowl.
Trying to win a Super Bowl. Trying to get better every day. Trying to win every day. Just trying to be better than last year.
I did appreciate Sky Moore's answer was it mandatory minicamp? Whatever he talked during the OTAs and mandatory minicamp, phase 1, 2, or 3, whatever it was. And I'd have to go back and look at the exact quote. I'll paraphrase something like, kind of like showing what I can do, and then next year I'll give you what goals might be. So like this last year was trying to figure out the offense. This year, trying to make, my presence known or be a part of this team more. Next year, I'll tell you what my goals might be when I have a better idea of what it's like to be a pro in a system that I know. I appreciated that quote from Sky Moore. It seemed pretty honest rather than just, I want to be, I'm trying to get 1,000 yards this year. I want to get this. I want to get that. It's like, I don't have goals except for I'm just trying to be the best I can be this year. And then when I have 2 years under my belt, I can start thinking about those individual accolades.
There are rare answers to the question that sometimes, get something done. I mean, I remember when Chris Jones, said he was going to lead the league in sacks. And I was sitting there like, okay, defensive tackle's going to lead the league in sacks. Okay, Chris, way to go.
Chris Jones, you're
goes out there and gets 15 and a half, and it's like, dude, almost did it.
He really did.
He really almost did it. I mean, that was pretty good calling your shot.
He was a terrible call against the Raiders from finishing second in the league in sacks. Let's see. I just want to. Oh, yeah, here it is. What are your personal goals? And he said, last year was learn the playbook. This year, perform. And next year, I'll give you personal goals.
There you go.
I love that from Sky Moore.
We'll hold him to that, by the way. So
you better perform this year.
Next year, we're going to ask him those personal goals. And if he doesn't give them to us, I mean, we're going to go shock jock on
Sky,
him.
A year ago, you said you would give us personal goals. You understand that we've been waiting? Look at my calendar. I've marked off every day.
I have a yellow legal pad that says this.
Leading into this interview.
In stone.
2 days. Look at this. 2 days until Sky Moore's personal goals. And now you give us nothing?
Yeah.
People need things to look forward to.
Exactly.
It was this vacation, 4-day weekend, hopefully.
Sky Moore's goals.
Sky Moore's goals, yes.
Yeah.
The actual dates, I looked it up. We talked about Jets, the 19th. Chiefs, rookies, the 18th. Veterans, 22nd.
There you go.
So there is, I guess, specifically 3 days there. That would be between the Jets and the Chiefs. Did you watch the match last night?
Against my better judgment, I did watch the match.
Good for you. And I bet you enjoyed it. I know you're not a golf fan.
I mean, I'm a golf fan. I'm just not a huge fan of watching people who aren't golfers play golf.
Yeah, but I don't even care about like the golf part was fun just because Mahomes and Kelsey were winning.
It was a lot
more. It's the banter and the fun sort of trash talking or the conversation that takes place. I enjoy that, especially with being Mahomes and Kelsey.
I enjoyed it more last year with Brady and Allen and everything because
I did not.
I thought that there was a little bit more trash talking and a little bit more hatred between those guys. There was way too much mutual respect last night. I mean, there was just And I did not. I mean, I knew that Klay Thompson was going to be terrible. I did not know that he'd never played golf apparently before. Because
I didn't.
And obviously he has, but
if we'd have made predictions, who wins the match tonight? If we'd have done that yesterday, I would have said, rooting for Mahomes and Kelsey. But Steph and Klay.
Had they promoted the match as Steph Curry teaches Klay Thompson how to play golf, it would have been a very accurate description.
Had they promoted the match as Steph Curry will be attached a trailer to him trying to play golf while Draymond Green makes fun of Klay Thompson throughout the round, I would have placed a lot of money on Mahomes and Kelsey.
And I haven't seen a whole lot of talk about this. I'm curious if I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, how I felt about Von Miller hanging out, being all chummy with the Chiefs. I mean, these guys are all friends. I get it, you know. But I just wonder if I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, if I'm not saying, what's Von doing?
Yeah,
been a little chummy with the enemy.
Yeah, and even complimentary of the enemy when he's like, "I told you, you don't bet against Mahomes and Kelsey. You don't bet against them."
He had their backs.
And when Mahomes is talking trash, it's over.
That was a good one. That was a good line.
And Draymond.
Yeah.
I bet you're used to that. Can we play that clip real quick? The Von Miller of Mahomes and talking trash. It's about 20 seconds. I enjoyed this one. It kind of goes to what you're talking about with the Bills fans of like, the hell, man. Here's Von Miller when towards the end when Steph needed to make a putt and Mahomes let everybody know what happened if Steph missed.
I wish Steph know what's going to happen if we don't make this thing.
Oh, that's that Pat Mahomes trash talk. Pretty minor physics, huh? Oh, shoot. Hey, when Pat Mahomes start trash talking, it's over.
Loop-de-loop around that thing.
It's over.
You know that feeling, huh?
Like right middle trash.
When he started talking, it's over.
I bet you know it
We
well.
start congratulating guys. Hey, man, you're a great player, man. It's over. It really is.
I bet you know it well, Draymond. Yeah.
And frankly, I mean, if Draymond and Vaughn hadn't been there, I think it would have been pretty boring. I mean,
I don't disagree.
They had a little bit of.
They added to it because the 3-1 joke between Mahomes and Draymond that Draymond clearly very sensitive to.
Very sensitive to it.
You know, Von Miller talking about betting against Mahomes and Barkley, you know, making fun of Draymond and saying that he talks a lot of trash for somebody who's unemployed. You know, that's Barkley's also called Draymond a triple single. That's what he called him. A triple single, not a triple double. He's like, this guy's a triple single. Didn't call him that last night, but he's called him that on TNT before.
Yeah.
So it's not like Barkley and Draymond have always, you know, loved each other. But he called Draymond. This dude's talking. He's a triple single every night.
Okay, I'm gonna come across as a completely grumpy old man here.
Cool,
and I
good.
do not care, and this is why I don't really care for the, you know, the just pedestrian golfer playing on TV, because I mean the thing was orchestrated to make these guys look good. Because one, notice they never really talked about any distances on these things. They played some pretty short holes, you could tell. Even though these guys, I mean, I know Travis Kelce's 6'6", so he gets a swing going. Hey, I know if you're a big tall guy like us, and okay, I'm almost Travis's size. In your peak athleticism, you get behind the ball, you can give it a ride. But you're also, you know, if you're like us, you're going to send that thing fairly right occasionally, because big guys can't play golf. I mean, if you're bigger than 6 foot tall, golf is hard. So Travis had some good moments, but they never told you, oh, we got a par 4, you know, 499 coming up. No, because I think that the par fives were probably like 425. Because I know Mahomes had like, what, a 250 in on a par 5 after he hit a drive like 75 yards.
That's right.
And he hit that low screamer on the drivable par 4 that ball couldn't have gone more than maybe 190. I mean, there's no way. The ball never got more than about 2 feet off the ground and rolled all the way to the green.
He smoked it, though. He smoked it,
but I mean,
there was a swing that there was a 3 or 4 iron for Kelce that went like 250 or 260.
That was that was a solid swing, and it was like I said, that was right after Mahomes' 75-yard drive, you know, that set him up there. And I mean, and God bless Trevor Immelman's heart.
I know,
because you know Travis and then Patrick both had that drive on that one hole that looked like it went 300 yards straight and 150 right. And he's like, yeah, trying to play a little fade there. that was not a fade, Trevor. That was a big-time slice.
Do we have the clip loaded in of Kelce doing the Mahomes impression?
We do.
We do?
We do now.
We do have that. Drake, can you play that? Can you play the clip that Brisco just loaded in? Like
hot
2
and fresh in the system.
Yeah.
Hardest working humble man in the business.
Just out of the oven.
I told you it would either be a minute or about 15, and sometimes those Twitter sites don't work as well as I like them to. We have it now, Jason.
Awesome. Here's the pre-match, which I did not watch the pre-match, so I didn't know some of the things that took place there. I didn't cut any sound of the pre-match. But here is a soundbite of the pre-match with Kelce doing a Mahomes impersonation.
One thing that's really unique about him is that voice, man. He's got a voice for radio, man. If you hear it, if you just got to shut your eyes, he's got to, welcome back to WT.
And Kelce. Kelce's passing the 20 to the 10. Touchdown.
He's got to use that to his advantage, baby. I see him on the radio all day.
Could he be on the radio? Could Patrick Mahomes, does he have a future in play-by-play?
I heard Travis Kelce start some call letters with a W there. That's what I heard.
See that too. Yep.
East Coast guy.
Midwest guy. 50,000 watt guy is what
WKRP.
Kelce is.
That's it.
That's
That's
right.
Travis Kelce right there.
That's right.
Makes sense.
That does lead me into, and I'm glad you loaded that clip in for me, Josh. It does lead me into one of the things that came out of the Vanity Fair article with Travis Kelce, and I'm assuming you read it, Matt. It was really, really good.
about how Travis Kelce is underpaid and angry about it?
Yes, which we'll get into here in a second. But the post-playing career. The author writes, Kelce told me he intends to see out his current contract with the Chiefs, which runs through 2025. And although he might not know what precisely the future holds, Kelce's been positioning himself for a next act in entertainment since he entered the league, or as he puts it, getting his, quote, face out from under the helmet, end quote. Broadcasting would be a logical move, and he could see himself in the booth as a color analyst for NFL games. Quote, I could sit there, talk football, make it relatable. I could get into the scheme of things. I could make it make sense to the people who are just now getting into it, and I could bring the juice, says Travis Kelce. I think Kelce would kill it. I think he'd be good as a color analyst. I think he'd be fun. But I don't want him to do it. In an odd way, I don't want that for him. Because I don't want him to be confined to, okay, he's a color commentator now on football games. I don't know why. And maybe it's if that was the only thing he did, and it's probably not the only thing he's going to do. Maybe he can do some other things, right? You know, Terry Bradshaw was doing movies and TV shows while he was also doing color commentary and doing some things for the NFL, all of that stuff. So, you know, maybe he can do some other things, but I guess I don't want his post-playing career to be just in the booth as a color commentator. I don't want him to be confined to that. I don't want him to just be like, okay, now you're just doing. He can do so many other things. It's odd. I think he'll kill it, but I actually don't want him to do it.
And you know, and getting in that article, you know, that I mean, getting on Saturday Night Live was a bit more orchestrated than we ever pictured. You know, this was something he wanted to do and tried to position himself for it, and it wasn't just a confluence of events. I mean, that this was actually a plan of Travis Kelce to do. And, you know, with signing with CAA, I mean, that's also not something you do if you want to just be an NFL commentator. I mean, that's what you want to do if you want to be something else. And, I mean, and I'm glad that there's finally people to the party. I mean, I've been saying that Travis Kelce looks like a Hemsworth brother for years. And I remember 5 years ago, everybody was like, Matt, you're kind of crazy. And now everybody else is on band. So I still want my credit as being the one that first said that. So
you get it.
But yeah, no, I mean, I could see him doing a lot of different things. I mean, he's clearly a better actor than Tony Gonzalez.
Yes.
So, I mean, he doesn't need to be doing cameos on NCIS. I mean, he could take over the show.
And he's improved since Moonbase 8.
Moonbase 8 was rough, but he has improved.
In the cameo he made for that in the episode that was about Travis Kelce. So it wasn't like he was playing a different role. He was playing himself. And I don't think he played himself very well. That's odd. I don't.
Not very believable. Weirdly.
No, it's like, you are not Travis Kelce. I don't care who you. This guy. I don't care what he looks like.
And I do think that. I mean, if he did go to the broadcast booth, I think he would bring a character that would be different and would be entertaining. He wouldn't be Tony Romo. He would be a different version of that. But, I mean, the one thing I don't like about long-term for players who go into the booth is that I think it's hard to do long-term good.
Yeah.
I mean, and Tony Romo was a great example. I mean, remember when he went into the booth, it was like, oh my gosh,
Took
this
the
is
league
just
by storm, man.
Fresh take and everything, and we're getting insight that we've never gotten before.
He's predicting all these plays.
Well, that's because he's only 1 year removed from being in meetings and getting, all the film and knowing all this stuff. And now that he hasn't been in those rooms for 10 years, he's not as smart as he used to be. And now he's starting to annoy people.
And now people are cutting clips of him saying what the play is going to be and getting it completely wrong.
Yeah.
It used to be Romo. I mean, this guy, is he listening to the play call and what's going on? This guy's killing it. Now it's, he got this wrong. Oh, he got that wrong. It's got the. I'd be interested if it was a Kelce Brothers color commentary in a TV booth.
Oh, that seems like an ESPN cast of some sort, the Kelce cast.
Like the Manning cast would be a Kelce cast or something like that during games while they can still do their own thing. Who knows?
I was going to say if anybody continues working at ESPN beyond tomorrow. But.
Boy, I don't know. They keep falling, too.
Yeah.
Not on radio, certainly. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back. A few things that we'll talk with Matt Derrick about, one of those being Kelce's contract.
Very angry Travis Kelce, apparently, from people who misread an article.
That's right. Kelce's contract.
Really bold of you to use the word "read" anywhere in what they did in that article.
I said miss.
You said article.
Headline. And really, what he actually said, while we can make fun of the idiots out there, but what he actually said and what that meaning is as we talk about this organization and even somebody who is waiting for a contract before, I think, heading into training camp in Chris Jones. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sport.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Matt Derrick is our guest. Pat, the training camp presented by Premier Volvo Cars of Overland Park, Zero Res, and Rally House. Okay, so let's talk about what Travis Kelce actually said in the Vanity Fair article about his
You
contract.
mean he's not trying to blow his way out of Kansas City for a better deal in Las Vegas or something?
No, he's holding out. Obviously, this is clear. You just got to understand what he's saying without specifically looking at the words. Like you've got to be smart enough to be another level of what Kelsey's meaning to say without actually saying it. But saying that my managers and agents love to tell me how underpaid I am. Anytime I talk about wanting more money, they're just like, why don't you go to the Chiefs and ask them? This is a pretty easy concept to understand. That if Travis Kelce is asking his agents for more money and his agents say you should ask the Chiefs, then he's clearly not asking his agents for more money from the Chiefs. That is a very simple
it's like a quadratic equation there, yeah.
concept that seems to be difficult to understand. And somebody like Travis Kelce, who we're talking about the many streams of income, more money is not mutually exclusive to NFL salary when he's talking to managers and agents. And you mentioned CAA that he's a part of. Hey, where can I make more money? What are we doing? We'll talk to the Chiefs. Yeah, okay. Where can I make more money of what's going on? Because, as he said, when I saw Tyreek go and get $30 million a year, in the back of my head, I was like, man, that's 2 to 3 times what I'm making right now. I'm like, the free market looks like fun until you go somewhere and you don't win. I love winning. I love the situation I'm in. He goes on to say that you see how much more money you could be making, and yeah, it hits you a little bit in the gut. It makes you think you're being taken advantage of. I don't know if I really press the gas, if I would get what I'm quote unquote worth, but I know I enjoy coming to that building every single day. So it's sort of the wrestling with the entirety of here's the whole story. Here's the money, the situation, happiness, where you're working, because there are probably people out there in the workforce that aren't making $14 million annual average value in their contract per year, that are looking at it and going, you know what? Am I underpaid, or could I get more money over there? Maybe I could, but I like where I'm working, and I'm coming to work every day, and I like the people I'm around, and my quality of life is pretty good, and I'm happy. I have no idea what it would be like over there if I got a little bit more money. Would it be a short-term gain, and the money would be nice, but then the hours might be worse and things like that? These are conversations that people have all the time in life, just not at the extreme level of the millions and millions and millions of dollars that people are making. And that is relatable to the Chiefs specifically in winning. And if you're willing to take a little bit less money, if you are part of an organization that you do feel valued and you see your value being increased in the macro because you're on this team. Travis Kelce, if they don't win the Super Bowl, is not hosting Saturday Night Live. We know that.
Right.
Lorne Michaels said that.
Yeah.
He told Heidi Gardner, yeah, if he wins the Super Bowl, he can host Saturday Night Live. He won the Super Bowl. If he went to the Dolphins, he's not a Saturday Night Live host.
Nope.
I mean, with the match and not being a teammate with Mahomes, he's not playing in the match in the golf tournament yesterday. This isn't the year of Kelce, where he's gone from really good tight end, people like him, fantasy, league winner, to star outside of football as well. And that matters when you're on a winning team. I do wonder how many people can have that mindset. When you've made $65 million, it's a little bit easier. When you're on a rookie contract, might be a little bit more difficult. But there is a man in Chris Jones who's already said, I want to be a Chief for life, who hasn't signed his contract. And I wonder how much the higher level players in that building view it as the same way almost as Kelce, that if I'm quote unquote underpaid, it's not worth the extra millions to go somewhere else and just lose and not win.
Yeah, and and I thought it was one interesting thing to note from the context of the quote in the article is that, it didn't feel to me like Travis Kelce was talking about himself being underpaid as a tight end. He was talking about himself being underpaid with his performance versus a wide receiver, which put up similar numbers. I mean, there are receivers in this league who are making 2.5 times as much as Travis Kelce who aren't putting up his numbers. but that's because they're wide receivers and he's a tight end. And he gets that. I mean, he knows that he's not going to be making $28 million a year because that's not what the market for a tight end is. And if he went to the Chiefs and said he wanted to make Tyreek Hill money, the Chiefs would probably say, okay, well, go find that and we'll make a trade for you because they're not going to pay him $28 million. But at the same time, I mean, you see why Travis is fine in Kansas City because, they have restructured that deal a couple of times. One of the times they restructured his deal to save some cap money, they put more money into it, which never happens on restructures. So that, to me, I mean, I think that tells you why he's happy in Kansas City. I mean, he's never expressed any discomfort with his contract, even spicing it up. I mean, the only guy in the league with a bigger contract than him is George Kittle. Everybody else, I mean, nobody is going to get more guaranteed money or a bigger contract other than a George Kittle. Nobody else is going to get more. I mean, when Dallas Goedert signed his deal, I mean, it was like for $250 less than Kelsey. I mean, that tells you where Kelsey's deal is.
The only person that's getting more annual average value is Darren Waller, but the guaranteed dollars are not close.
Not the same, and that's the thing is that all these other guys, Darren Waller, I would probably put Goddard in this contract category too. They're not going to see all that money. Travis Kelce's going to see every single dollar of his current contract.
Yeah, even the practical guaranteed. The practical guaranteed between Kittle and Waller is half.
Yeah.
From what Kittle's getting versus what Waller's getting.
And to me, the guarantee doesn't even matter because Travis Kelce's not going anywhere. I mean, the Chiefs are going to pay him every single dollar, and it's possible that they will restructure and put more money into him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if he's still putting up 1,000-yard seasons in 2025, I mean, they're going to say, okay, Travis, let's make sure, you said you want to play until the wheels fall off. Let's keep you around. Let's give you some more money. So you can see why. I thought that some people I think did take the quote out of context because I think it was definitely talking about and because he clearly talks about Tyreek and receiver money.
Yeah,
I mean that's totally different than talking about tight end money.
That's the thing. That I guess that was what was annoying is because when you take it out of context, it makes it look like he's unhappy and he would like more money, and he talks to his agents about wanting more money from the Chiefs, as opposed to the actual quote was him saying, I'm not interested in that because I'm winning. I love the situation I'm in. Like those are opposite ends of the spectrum of the way that it was painted versus what he actually said. And when this contract is up in 2025, he would have made almost $110 million in his career.
And
if he plays through the contract and he sees every dime of that.
And bringing it back to Chris Jones, I mean, let's see what happens. We're expecting that Chris Jones is going to be the second highest paid defensive tackle, which is what Travis Kelce's deal essentially is. It's the second highest paid. I mean, we know Patrick Mahomes is now the seventh highest paid, depending on which metric you want to use as a quarterback. But and if Chris ends up signing a deal, especially a deal that's significantly less than Aaron Donald, I mean, to me, that's another indication of guys realizing that if they want to stay in Kansas City and they want to keep the gravy train going, you're gonna have to take less money. I mean, that is a byproduct of winning in the NFL. If you want the most money and Travis hits it, doesn't mean you're gonna win. So those two don't always go together. And if winning is you reach a point in your career where winning in your life where winning is just as important or more important than money, I mean, then you've got to deal with that and can't complain.
I got a funny comp for you here.
Yes, please.
We all think Courtland Sutton's a pretty good football player generally, right? I mean, nice player, good,
decent, sure,
good piece. He and Travis Kelce have very, very, very similar contracts, more so than Kelce and any other receiver. Just kind of looking at Spotrac right now, there might be some other good examples. But Courtland Sutton signed a 4-year, $60.8 million deal with the Broncos with just under $35 million guaranteed. Kelce's last extension was 4 years, $57 million, $22.75 guaranteed. Obviously, as you said, Matt, he's going to see all of the money that's there. But just in terms of comparing him to the money, to an equivalent receiver purely financially, he is around the Courtland Sutton territory, which is just kind of wild.
And we talked last year, about like the Christian Kirk contract completely blowing up and rewriting the wide receiver market. Who would you rather have, Christian Kirk or Travis Kelce?
I would have Travis Kelce.
Yeah, so with 32 NFL
I answered
teams.
before Jason, so that you have to take.
And now I got to argue that Christian Kirk.
Yep, that's how it works.
See, here's the thing.
Take.
With wide receivers, he doesn't even block.
Christian Kirk doesn't block like at all.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about Kelce.
Oh, okay.
I'd rather have Kirk. Kelce doesn't block. He even said last night that he's learning how to block from George Kittle. Like, he's telling you he doesn't block.
this is, and we finally have a voice
There
to
you
pair
go.
with Dove Kleiman. That's what he sounds like.
I was thinking about trying to do my Patrick impersonation, but I don't know.
It's not bad, actually.
It's actually not very good at all.
It's actually not bad. I'm not going to lie.
I'm not going to lie. It's not good either.
But it's not bad.
It's
I
not the
think it
worst.
was.
It's
I
not
think
the
it
worst Mahomes
was.
impression I've heard.
Well, it's not the best.
Yeah, it's somewhere in the middle.
also-
We've got bookends. It's in there somewhere.
It's not quite as good as my Kermit the Frog.
Kermit the Frog here.
Oh, that's actually better than my Kermit the Frog. I can only really do Kermit when I'm singing the Rainbow Connection.
Well, go ahead.
Why are there so many songs about rainbows?
That is awesome.
Writing the time down for that there, Josh.
Yep, already got it.
Very good. The next level or element or layer of the, Travis Kelce, then Chris Jones part of it is Kelce and Jones have both made a boatload of money in their career so far.
Decent coin. Yep.
Yes.
They secured that bag, as the players like to say.
Exactly. So Chris Jones got that second contract. He's looking for his third now. I wonder how easy or willing, not easy, but willing players would be on their second contract to say, I like my situation. I'll take this that's available with the Chiefs, even if it's below what quote-unquote free agent market value would be for me, because I want to stay here. I bring that up because Deontay Lee at The Athletic wrote about the 2021 draft class and the fifth-year options that are going to need to be decided after this season. And he put them into different tiers. Tier 1 franchise players that are going to be picked up, but ultimately the contracts might be done next season before they even go into their fourth year. Tier 2, the top of Tier 2 that he puts plus starters / high ceiling players. The very top, first name, Kadarius Toney. As to whether or not the Chiefs will pick up that fifth-year option next year. He's a fascinating one because he knows what it's like to play for an organization that he was unhappy there and it wasn't working versus, and even telling the Giants they were number one, on a video that then he quote tweeted. He wasn't shying away from it when it became public. He quote tweeted it of him telling the Giants that they were number one. He's been a part of an organization that he feels is dysfunctional. And now he's on the Chiefs. When it comes time to writing a check and put up or shut up, his is going to be a fascinating one if he has a breakout year like Deontay Lee is saying. Deontay Lee is saying, and he's going with the targets per route run, which is one of the things that I've talked about, the EPA per target against man coverage. That he's out of all those 2021 draft picks, Jamar Chase being part of them, Devontae Smith being part of them, Jalen Waddle being all part of that. He's first in target rate of all players on rookie contracts, and he's top 20 in conversion rate and explosive gains and EPA per target against man coverage. So he's all of those things, and he says that if he's on the field longer term this year and the injuries sort of subside, which is a big question, he's going to have a major breakout year. What does he do if he has the major breakout year and he goes into the offseason where typically those first-round draft picks get signed long-term, especially at a premier position like wide receiver?
Yeah.
Is he of the same Kelce mindset of, because he wouldn't have made that money, he would have made about $5 million, I think, in the 4 years for Kadarius Toney.
And it's really going to be intriguing because, we're in the new formula for first-round draft picks and that fifth-year option now. And that takes into account performance, snap counts, Pro Bowl appearances, all of these things. And honestly, Kadarius Toney's numbers right now wouldn't give him a big-time costly fifth-year option. I mean, it's going to be cheaper than you would think, than it would traditionally be. Now, if he goes out and has a big season, it's going to obviously make him more money on that fifth-year option. But that's a calculation. I mean, the Chiefs obviously made with this deal is that, hey, that fifth-year option might not be as pricey as you think it could be. So they could certainly save a little bit of money. I think that's going to probably make it much more likely that they pick up that option. But it's interesting for Toney and players in that kind of category, that maybe it doesn't work out for them on their first team. that's going to cost him. I mean, you've got to perform on these new rookie contracts if you want to be able to make good money on that 5th year.
I lied. When his 4-year deal is up, he'll make $13.8 million. So after this year and next year, once his rookie contract is up, before they even pick up the 5th-year option, he'd have roughly $14 million in the bank. That's not $80 million, $90 million, or anything like that, or $60 million like Kelsey. But it's also not you've been a practice squad player for the last few years, and now you got a chance to really go make some coin. It'd be $14 million already in the bank that he has made in his career. And,
and if you're the Chiefs and you're Tony, I mean, talking about maybe an extension rather than just picking up the 5th-year option. I mean, that's when you get the ability to do that.
Yeah, next year we'll see what Jamar Chase is going to get, and we'll see what Justin Jefferson and those players are. I mean, Jefferson's available this summer to get that.
I mean, if you're the Chiefs, he has a good year. Do you go ahead and say, hey, we'd like to go ahead and sign you up long term? Let's extend this now. And if you're Kadarius Toney, do you bank on, well, hey, what? I've just had a 1,000-yard season. I think I'm going to have a better one in year 5. So,
yeah.
Or year 4, so I think I'll let it ride.
It goes along with something that we've been talking about the last couple of days when the jumping off point was Cody Benjamin's top 25 players in the league that are 25 years of age and under, and Creed Humphrey came in at number 11, but 9 of the 25 were wide receivers. And 3 of the honorable mentions were wide receivers. And 2 of the just missed the cut were wide receivers.
I will say, let me say this. There are not 9 wide receivers in the NFL under 25 who are better or more important to their teams than Creed Humphrey.
Yeah, Creed Humphrey came in at 11. So
way too low.
Yeah.
Way too low.
Way too low is in what? 11th overall out of all the 25-year-olds in the NFL?
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Micah Parsons.
Honestly, I'm putting him above a couple of those players.
You put him above Bosa and Parsons?
I put him above Bosa. I put him above Lawrence.
You wouldn't put him. Wow. Okay.
Here's the top 5 from the CBS list. 1 to 5: Justin Jefferson, Jalen Hurts, Nick Bosa, Micah Parsons, Jamar Chase, and then Justin Herbert 6, Sauce Gardner 7, Patrick Surtain 8, Tristan Wirfs 9, CeeDee Lamb 10, and then Creed 11.
How many of those guys are the best player at their position?
Well, and also only one of each of them.
But it's also
probably just Justin Jefferson, maybe.
Is like the only
you're
one
right.
you could say.
Well, also you're
Parsons,
looking at
maybe,
but you're looking at positional value too, and so
just totally disregard centers.
That's a straw man. That's not what I'm not disregarding centers.
He did.
He put him number 11. He put him as the second best offensive lineman in the NFL. Like, I was actually surprised I was impressed by Cody Benjamin. I'm not even sure
he's only the second. He's probably the first best offensive lineman under 25 in the NFL.
I don't know. He might be. But tackle as opposed to center, I think there's a difference. And I think center is valuable. But if you're looking at wide receivers, and anyway, that's besides the point.
I disagree. This is the point now.
My point.
The point being, 9 of those being wide receivers of the top 25, and our conversation we've been having for a while is how much wide receivers start to saturate the market in the NFL with more good, younger wide receivers coming in. Do the Chiefs go the route of giving draft picks second contract money like a Toney? Which
to me kind of illustrates that if that's the case, receivers are kind of a dime a dozen, so they're kind of undervalued. So why are you paying them all this money?
Right. So and that's where it comes to is there a bubble that's going to burst if the market becomes so saturated that there's not a world in which somebody would give Christian Kirk $20 million? If you can go draft the next Christian Kirk in the second round and give him $6 million over 4 years.
And here's why the market does occasionally miss, because the people that set the market are sometimes morons. Because I'll tell you right now, and I would have said it right. I said it. If I didn't say it right then, I should have said it right then. I will say it now. If you've signed Christian Kirk to that contract, you are not going to win anything. You might be lucky enough to be 500. You might be lucky enough to go 10-7 and back into a playoff appearance every once in a while. You are not winning a Super Bowl with Christian Kirk. Making that much freaking money.
$20 million, man.
No.
It's crazy. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling and wrap up this hour. Unfortunately, wrap up the hour. We got a lot more to talk about with Creed Humphrey versus every other player in sports. More so next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio.
Matt Derrick, our guest right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll talk with Alex Duvall coming up at noon, Royals Farm Report. Anything big happening before they head to training camp on the 18th, Matt? If you're guessing, if you're throwing a dart, if you are making a prediction on June 30th, right before we hit July. July tomorrow. It's training camp month tomorrow.
We're talking 18 days.
It is college, university, conference realignment day tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Or,
there you go.
Or it was all of those things if you're listening to this on Monday when we have a best of.
So this is
right.
Time travel, baby.
So this is
tomorrow.
Happy, I don't know who's in the Big 12 anymore day.
Eve. At midnight tonight.
Fantastic.
It'll be, hold on now. The Big 12 now has how many? Because they just had 10. So the Big 12 had
14? Is that
teams.
it?
So are they going to be at 4? So the Big 12 had 10, and now they're skipping to 14, but they're still the Big 12.
And so,
no wonder we're behind in math in the world. Come on. We can't even get our conferences right.
If the Big 12 can't get to 12, it's time for the rebranding. We had the big leagues, we called it, right? That was our best.
I just want to make sure. We're talking about tomorrow, that as of tomorrow.
Saturday.
Okay. So 2 days ago, if you're listening on the best of on Monday.
I got to plan this stuff out in advance, man.
There you go. Then we're talking about, depending on when you're listening to this, Travis Kelce could now be a Big 12 legend.
That's a great point.
Wow. And also Travis Kelce could threaten to retire because he's unhappy with the amount of money he's making, depending on what headlines you read.
Yeah.
Or misread.
That's a great point. Because Missouri, when they went into the SEC, they had like SEC Network, like Legend Days. And then they had like a Missouri day.
Like Jeremy Maclin was there.
So they had like SEC legends, and Missouri had a day, and it was like, you got to love all these players that are the Brad Smith SEC games were just some of my favorite SEC games. So you're right. Now Cincinnati.
When Chase Daniel became an SEC legend, that was kind of my vibe. Well.
So now you're right.
Okay.
Travis Kelce, Big 12 legend.
Big 12 legend. There you go.
That's correct. The Kelce brothers, Big 12.
I have to admit, and it's not that I'm not a fan. I mean, I watch the college sports. I mean, I enjoy it and everything. I'll admit, except for Cincinnati, I could not name the other schools that are going to the Big 12. I don't remember them. Is Houston one? Okay,
yes.
Then I got that right.
You got two.
So you got half of them.
Two. Oh, BYU.
You got 75%
Andy
of them.
Reid right there.
I don't know. Newberry. I don't know.
That's it. That's the fourth.
Newberry, that is correct. They're bringing in a team that's won a national championship before.
LSU moving to the Big 12.
A recent national championship winning team,
too. I was
too.
going to say, because then it was going to be, is Missouri going back because of that 1954 baseball national championship?
No, football. A recent college football
I was shocked when Alabama said they were going to move.
It's not Clemson. It's not Alabama.
No.
A recent.
Yeah.
Whether anybody believes them or not, they definitely.
It wasn't a college football playoff championship.
Florida schools.
That's
Central.
Southwest Central Florida.
That's right, Southwest Central Florida. Yes,
there
national champion.
National champion.
UCF entering the Big 12. So there's the four.
So Josh Heupel now SEC legend coach. Is that right? Was that what he was? Who was the coach at Central Florida?
That was Scott Frost.
Was it Scott Frost? So Scott Frost now.
Big 12 legend.
Big 10 legend.
Damn it.
Big 12 coaching legend.
Well, how about that? Scott Frost is going to be a Big 12 Oh, yeah.
And so now
I guess he was a Big 12 legend.
And now I've completely lost track. So Oklahoma and Texas are actually leaving tomorrow, too.
No, they're still there.
So there's going to be 16 teams in the Big 12.
No, 14. Then they'll go down to 12 when Oklahoma and Texas join the SEC, but they may then go up to like 16
in all
if they take the four schools
14. Now I got
from
14
Pac-12.
now,
So it's going to go 14, 12, probably 16, maybe 20. Could go back to 8. I've been hearing rumblings.
No, it's going to go from 12 to 10
When's
to
Mid-American
14
going into the Big 12?
to 12
Waiting for the invite.
to 16.
Kent Swanson, Big 12 legend.
They could call themselves the Big 8 times 2. There's your 16-team conference name, finally.
The Big Eights.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
The Big 8 squared.
8 squared. Well, no, that's more than that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is way more than that. But we're not far away from that.
Together, we're elevating our potential, our pride, our tradition.
Thank you to Matt Derrick, our Path to Training Camp, presented by Premier Volvo Cars of Overland Park, Zero Res, and Rally House. All right, there's some Chiefs talk. Now let's get into some Royals talk, some Royals discussion, and whether that's with the big league club or really with the farm system, the minor leagues. Alex Duvall, Royals Farm Report, joining us at Royals Farm on Twitter is where you can find his work, and also at Royals Farm Report. Alex Duvall joining us here. Alex, what's up, man? How are you, sir?
Jason, not too bad, man. How you been?
I have been just fine. Let's start off with this. Let's just talk about Alec Marsh, who's making his Major League debut tonight with Jordan Lyles being sick. It is Alec Marsh going out to the mound. What are you expecting? I'll just ask, what do you think of Alec Marsh as a player, and whether this is an actual debut of he's now coming up with the big league club, or a spot start and he was next in line and the rotation matched?
I think it's a little more better for now. It was next anyway, I think, and so it was kind of an ironic circumstance. Like, if it was Angel Zerp, I'd say this is a one start back to Omaha. With Marsh, it was a little bit of both. Like, I think he was next, and it was a good opportunity with Lyles being sick, and it was Marsh's turn in the rotation. But he's really talented, and the walks have been an issue in the minor leagues, which is something I know Kansas City Royals fans are probably tired of at the moment. But he has stuff that is different than most Royals pitching prospects have had lately. And I think there's a lot of reasons to be really excited. And I don't know, I'm more excited about this than I have been since Jackson Coar's debut a few years ago, which did not go well. So maybe I should temper my expectations. But this is the most excited I've been for a Royals pitching prospect to debut in a long time. So
why is that then? Because I was extremely pumped for Jackson Coar's. I'm not as excited for Alec Marsh tonight, but clearly, as you're saying, maybe I should be a little more excited. What is it about this one maybe that's got your juices flowing a little bit and your excitement level peaked, rather than just, as you said, an Angel Zerpa coming up to fill the spot?
Yeah, so AAA recently got access to the point where we have all of the data from pitchers that we have from big league pitchers, right? And so one thing that I don't think I even realized is that Alec Marsh's fastball is like a borderline elite pitch, just in terms of its physical qualities, if you take away like location, right? So I tweeted this out the other day, but the number of right-handed pitchers who throw 94 or faster on average with a spin rate north of 2,400 RPMs is Dustin May, Joe Kelly, Ryan Helsley. There's 7 dudes. One of them's Jacob deGrom. One's Emmanuel Clase. It's basically just all world throwers with really good fastballs, right? And I didn't realize that. And so he gets to Omaha, and we get access to all this data, and we see how many whiffs he's generating on his fastball. And it's like, this isn't something that Royals pitchers have had in a long time. Like, Brady Singer works off a sinker slider. Chris Bubich works off the changeup. He's a lefty. Daniel Lynch works off the slider. They haven't had a fastball-dominant starting pitching prospect, and that's what Alec Marsh offers. And he can elevate his fastball like nobody else in the Royals rotation can. And some of that is just stuff that I kind of learned as he got to AAA that I was wrong about. And I was wrong about what this fastball would look like. I knew he had the curveball, slider, changeup that would play. But he's got the fastball, too. I don't think there's any reason to suggest he couldn't be a big league starter starting right now.
Interesting. Well, let's hope tonight's debut. He's going up against a pretty good squad in the Dodgers, and a team that drafted Bobby Miller late in the first round, and the Royals drafted Asa Lacy fourth, and so that's cool. Because Asa Lacy is, somewhere in this world doing something right now, and Bobby Miller's pitching for the Dodgers tonight. So hopefully Alec Marsh goes out there and pitches really well and shows what he can do. You tweeted about Ben Kudrna and the local kid, second-round draft pick a couple of years ago, and, high school guys. Mazzucato was, pitching well and striking guys out before he ran into a teammate, and Ben Kudrna looks like he's pitching really well. What are you seeing from him, and maybe what should the excitement level be for for this kid and what he's doing right now, and how soon maybe a promotion for him to start moving up the ranks?
So he made the same or a similar adjustment to what Chris Bubich did this offseason to tweak the fastball, right? And again, something the Royals have never been very good at is teaching how to optimize a fastball, how to make it not a Jackson Kowar fastball, right? Where it's like, hey, cool, you throw 97, and you and Brandon Maurer are still getting, shelled all over the place. They've tweaked Caderna's delivery to optimize that fastball without sacrificing any of the off-speed stuff. And so I tweet, again, on Twitter is where I've been mostly since I'm not writing a whole lot anymore. Ben Caderna and Frank Mazzucato both are in the top 20 in minor league whiff rate in all of baseball. And so what they've done is they've taken Caderna and they said, look, you may walk some more guys this year, and his ERA is higher, but everything else across the board looks more promising. And it's like, hey, you have to learn to miss bats. You've got to learn to create swings and misses with your stuff. And they've taught him how to do that more effectively without sacrificing much on the back end. And so long term, what I think this suggests is that Ben Caderna has top 100 potential, because now instead of striking out less than 8 batters per 9, he's striking out 9.5 batters per 9. It's jumped almost 2 batters per 9 innings pitched from last season. Last year, he wasn't missing bats at all. This year, he's top 20 in the entire minor league baseball, all of minor league baseball. It is a substantial change that, again, on the surface, the ERA is higher, the FIP's higher, so it's like, okay, he's worse. No, not at all. As a prospect, he is much better. And I'll give an example, though. The Braves, the kid they brought up, he's 21 years old. Last year had an ERA north of 5 in A-ball. Right, it's tweaks like this to take a prospect from fringe top 100 guy to top 20 prospect in baseball, pitching in the big leagues at 21.
So is that let me move into something then that's been talked about and really has been part of frustrations with Royals fans and those that even study and watch and cover the team. Alex Duvall's our guest, Royals Farm Report, is the development or lack thereof that the Royals have had in their organization with their pitching prospects. And they've had some guys along the way that have made their way up through the ranks, the Danny Duffy and Giordano, that they've been able to develop. And for the most part, though, it's been an abyss of pitching prospects. Is that changing now with the big league changeover in the coaching at the big league staff, and J.J. Piccolo was the GM, and some of the things that they wanted to implement in this past offseason, that the hitting program of a couple of years ago starts to take hold, and we see some of these position players doing these things, Alex, and it's like, okay, this is good news from these different points they're making and emphasizing in the minor leagues, and it's working, and it worked with Prado and some other guys and Melendez as they were turning their careers around. Is there maybe under the surface that, those like yourself that study it more and pay way more attention of those smaller little details, is that happening for this team and this squad that, someone like myself isn't paying enough attention to?
Yeah, I think so for sure. And I think the big thing is that we can see it. And it's like it's tangible, and I can show it to you. Like yesterday I tweeted out the pictures of Ben Caderna's his delivery. And it's like, hey, look, here's how it's different. Here's how it's better. Here's why it's working. The Royals tweeted out the other day, and again, state propaganda, but they tweeted out their pitching throughout the minor league system has improved markedly. All of their pitching prospects, not all of them, most of the ones who matter have improved markedly in the minor leagues. And you can look at it, you can see it, and it's, is it translating to the big league level just yet? Not quite. But I think the gem of the examples I could have shown you in Chris Bubich before he could, do it for a season had Tommy John surgery. It's like, well, okay, so there goes that one. And then the rest of your rotation at the big league level is Brady Singer. Daniel Lynch looks pretty good. I know Singer's been pretty terrible. But it's Greinke and Lyles, right? Like 2 veterans who aren't worth talking about in terms of development. So it's a weird year in terms of trying to show the public progress. But I think in the minor leagues, like with Mazzucato, being almost in the top 10 of all of minor league baseball in missing bats. Like, it's not like Mazzucato throws 100 miles an hour. He throws 92, and they have engineered his stuff to a point where he has a top 10 whiff rate in all of minor league baseball, throwing 92 miles an hour. And it's like, this is something the Royals have never been able to do. And you mentioned Duffy and Ventura. What did both those guys have in common? They could both hit 100 miles an hour as they were coming up. Now, Duffy didn't do it as frequently, but he could do it. You're talking about two freak talents that managed to make it to the big leagues despite what the Royals were doing. Whereas now you take a guy like Mazzucato, underslot him for $3 million with the 7th overall pick. He's throwing 92 miles an hour, and you can still see a top 100 prospect in there. I can't – if you don't see tangible progress, I don't really know how else to show it to you.
And this would be one of those to where frustrations are certainly there with seeing prospects that are making their way up to the big leagues and watching the Orioles and watching the Reds and Diamondbacks and Pirates and things like that of teams that have made draft picks that have gone through the system and, you know, are either making their debuts with the big league club or are still sitting there in the top 100. And it was certainly discouraging when Gavin Cross fell out of the top 100. And it was like the Royals now have zero. With the draft picks they've had, they have zero players that are in the top 100. I don't know what next year's preseason top 100 will look like with some of these players now graduating into the big leagues. If Mazzucato or Kudrna or somebody else makes their way into the top 100, but if it were to be, and this is going to be a big if because pitching is volatile, especially when you're talking about guys who are 20 years old and long ways to go and maybe a couple of years before they would even be at the big league level. I mean, at least what I'm hearing is there's at least a chance, as opposed to like an Asa Lacy that would be throwing a dart in the dark after being spun around 15 times and saying hit the bullseye, that anything positive happens from that. That's my view. But I hear that maybe there's at least a chance that this draft, if they went signability for Mazzucato and able to spend a little bit more money on Ben Kudrna, that those two picks could end up being guys in a rotation. And you go, well, that 2018 draft that people talked about with college pitchers, actually, it was the 2021 draft with the high school guys where they drafted a couple in the first 2 rounds when they went signability and had money then to give to the local kid in Kudrna.
Yeah, there's a long way to go,
Mm-hmm.
but I totally agree with the principle. And I think it's fair, by the way, to point out that Kowar, Lynch, Singer, and Bubic was even on Fangraph's top 100 at one point. Like, all four of those guys got the recognition. It's just the system wasn't in place yet to help them along the way. We've seen it with Chris Bubic, who's willing to learn and adapt. We've seen it with Daniel Lynch a little bit. You know, jury's still out, but we've seen it a little bit, willing to learn and adapt. And I think with Singer and Kowar, there has been no change. And so it's like, well, how do we really evaluate what that 2018 class was? Do we have to evaluate it on Austin Cox and Jonathan Bolin versus, you know, the first 2 guys they took? So it's such a weird case that it's kind of hard to compare. But I totally agree with the principle of what you're saying in that, you know, they went under slot, self-included. Fans were frustrated. And then you look back at it now and go, oh, like maybe there's some value to spreading your money out instead of putting all your eggs in the Asa Lacy basket.
Visiting with Alex Duvall, and the draft is coming up. And before we get maybe a primer and a couple of names that you might be looking at in the draft, John Sherman talked about that, you know, sometimes you get worse before it gets better. Sometimes you got to tear it down. And then Todd Lebo asked, are you tanking? Which was great. I enjoyed that question. Sherman then laughed and said, no, I don't even know what that is. But the building of a ball club, when he talks about the Orioles and teams like that have and Astros and how they have built their teams, and that's how you can go about, you know, doing it and looking at how they did those things. That's not possible anymore to do that. And it's discouraging because Major League Baseball implemented the lottery system. And so when the Orioles have the number 1 pick in the draft in 2019 and the number 2 pick in the draft in 2020 and the number 5 pick in the draft in 2022 and the number or 2021 and the number 1 pick in the draft in 2022, when those things happen, you're like, yeah, great. You had 4 straight years of top 5 picks. 3 of those 4 were top 2 selections. They couldn't do that now in the lottery. They'd have 2 years, and then the best they could pick was 10th. So the lottery is actually hurting the Royals to be able to do what the Astros and the Orioles did. How much of an adjustment, then, do you think teams like the Royals or others that might be, quote-unquote, tanking and A's because we won a lot of draft picks over a course of a few years have to maybe adjust that a little bit, because it's not possible to do what the Orioles did and to suck so bad for 4 years that if you got 4 top 5 picks, 3 of the 4 in the top 2.
Yeah, it makes scouting and development a whole lot more important, right? And I think that's why when you're in the Royals situation, like, you can't really afford to do the Asa Lacy thing anymore, right? I don't care if he is the best college pitcher since Steven Strasburg. Like, even if Paul Skeens falls to him, like, if you put all of your money into one pitcher and it doesn't work out, like Asa Lacy, you are in a lot of trouble, especially now with the lottery. If you want to divvy your money up and gamble twice on a Mazzucato and Cadurna, I don't love it, but maybe. But the way that, like, the industry is talking about them being all in on this prep right-handed pitcher, Noble Meyer, right?
Yeah.
You can't afford to do that anymore. If Noble Meyer is even if he's as good as Ben Cadurna, but not a top 10 prospect in baseball, and you give him $6 million, it's a failed draft. And that's why hitters are so much more valuable to a team that's trying to rebuild, is because their bust rate is so much lower. There's so much more we know about hitters. There's so much less impact that an injury can have. And so when you're the Royals and you have a bottom 10 farm system in baseball, and you're losing 110 games this year, and the draft lottery, you've got to play it sort of safe. Now, I don't mean take, like, a safe pick with no upside. I mean, you can't gamble on a Noble Meyer, because if you miss and he's not a front-of-the-rotation guy at the age of 22, you've just set yourself back another half decade like they've done with Asa Lacy. So that's why I think it's imperative that they go college hitter, or if you get a really good prep bat, you're like, okay, fine, but they've got to be a little bit on the safer side, like Cincinnati's done, like Baltimore's done, like Houston has done. They've left the breadcrumb trail. Are you going to follow it, or are you going to keep trying to galaxy brain everybody and try to outsmart everybody when you're not?
Just looking at obviously the way the draft lottery will work is, 2 years. If you're in the lottery, that third year, the best you can pick is 10th. So if we look at the Orioles and say in 2019, they picked number 1 overall Adley Rutschman, and in 2020 they picked number 2 overall Heston Kjerstad, which means that 2021 they would not have been in the lottery. So the number 5 pick in the draft that they got, Colton Cowser, who is raking at AAA and is going to come up, and they're going to, oh great, here's another Oriole player that can go and play center field and is OPSing in the minors in AAA at 978, is getting on base at AAA this year at 450. Is Colton Cowser, was the number 5 pick in the draft. I really, really wanted Cowser to fall to the Royals at number 7. He did not. But what if the Orioles weren't picking there? Is Colton Cowser a Royal? Like, because he wasn't they're going to give whatever it takes to Colton Cowser. He wasn't you've got to go over slot for that guy. I don't know if I'd have to go back and look. I don't think it was an under slot thing to where you're going to be collecting a lot of money, but that would be interesting to see what the Royals might have done if there was no Orioles picking at number 5. So in that way, it could benefit others. But the Orioles aren't in that boat anymore. The Royals are in that particular boat. I just thought that was interesting. Who are some names then that you're looking at and maybe hearing the Royals are connected to? You mentioned one of those, Noble Meyer, fun name. But names maybe that you would like to see the Royals go and draft at number 8. If it's spending whatever you have to get this player if he slips, or signability that maybe you go this route in the first round because it gives you more flexibility in the second, third, et cetera.
Yeah, so I think best case scenario is the catcher out of Virginia, Kyle Teal. He's a plus defender. He's got a great hit tool. He can hit for some power. Like, I've got him number 5 in the entire draft, but there is a chance that he does fall. I think it's the best case scenario because, A, I think he'd be the best player available. Duh. B, I think it allows you to do some things in the minor leagues, like moving Carter Jensen to first base or the outfield, like his bat is struggling a bit, so take the catching away from him and say, look, Kyle Teal is going to be our catcher of the future. We've got Luca Tresh at Double-A to kind of maybe be the Freddie Fermin of that next generation. Let's get Kyle Teal behind the plate. Let's move Carter Jensen to outfield first base and let everybody else kind of fall into place. So I think there's like a two-pronged component of that. The guy that I really want, assuming that Teal is off the board, is a middle infielder out of Maryland named Matt Shaw. I think he is the sixth best prospect in the draft. There is a really safe side of him because he doesn't strike out a ton. There's also a ton of upside because he hit 24 home runs. I don't understand why everybody else is lower on him than I am. I have never really put my eggs into a draft basket like I am with Matt Shaw. If he was a pitcher and I had an equivalent grade, I would not be, running this train like I am on Shaw. But with him being a hitter with a short, compact swing, hitting for power, walking a ton, not striking out too much, I really think it's a slam dunk. You put him in. It's a safe pick and has a ton of upside. There's another kid, Tommy Troy, out of Stanford, who's kind of similar in that regard. But they have a lot of good options. But the things that you keep hearing are that they're interested in some of these prep guys. And it's like, okay, I get it. I like the gambling on upside. I really do. But if you're wrong, you don't have the farm system in place to absorb missing on a prep player, which is why I think with all of the college talent available to them, I really think it's a great draft to draft the best college hitter on your board and then keep it moving and see who's available later on in the draft. I really don't think their farm system is set up to absorb a miss on a underslot deal. I just don't know that it's worth it in this season in particular when you have guys like Teal, Shaw, Troy, who could potentially be available to you.
Yeah, so what you're saying is that's not an across-the-board view for you, like, moving forward. Like, my view ultimately is, if I ran a major league team in a draft, I'd almost predominantly draft college bats, and then I'd move them for pitching that somebody else probably developed that's maybe closer to major league ready because those things are so volatile. I would never draft a high school pitcher ever, unless it's like the third or fourth round or something like that. I'm just going first rounders. Okay, my entire draft pick wouldn't be college bats, but first rounder, I'd focus on what's the best college bat available that I can get at this particular spot. But what I'm hearing from you is that's sort of a view this year. Let's fast forward a couple of years, Alex. Alex Duvall's our guest from Royals Farm Report. Let's fast forward a couple of years. If what you're saying about some of those morsels of improvement that are there in the minor leagues with the pitching prospects and the development, if that continues in a couple of years later, would you then go, you know what, I'm fine if the Royals are going to go high school pitching because they have proven they've changed some things, and it's not you're just banging your head against the wall hoping that this is going to be different than every other thing you've done in not being able to develop those pitchers. If that continues to happen, then you'd be more in line with, okay, if it's a high school pitcher with the second best stuff in the entire draft as a high school kid, and he's there at 7 or 8, well, then freaking take him because look at Kuderna and Mazzucato and whoever else at that time might be going on. It's not a hard and fast across the board rule for you, or is it closer to that than what I'm hearing as you talk about this particular year?
Yeah, it's close. And so if you're talking about a Noble Meyer, who I really do, and in our draft cheat sheet that's up like at the website, like you said, I admit, like I've got him 13th on my board, but I admit he's probably got the second best stuff in the class. I just it's one of those things where we keep evaluating prep pitching and we go, oh, this guy's got the second best stuff in the draft. And then every single time we say that, we look back 5 years later and go, oh no, it was Bobby Miller or Emmett Sheehan who was starting for the Dodgers, who they took in the 6th round, right? It's like we always say this at the time of the draft, but we always look back and go, oh, well, we were wrong. And so it's kind of a hard and fast rule. Like, it's just I don't know that there's ever a reason to give full slot value to a prep arm. Like I said, if you want to go Mazzucato route and divvy it up between two guys, that's a little better. But in this draft specifically, and especially with the shape that their farm system is in, this year especially, it's a hard no from me.
Interesting. Alex Duvall, Royals Farm Report, at Royals Farm on Twitter. Last one for you. Were you expecting a Will Klein to be a part of the Futures game to represent the Royals? or were you thinking maybe somebody else would get that call? Because I found out who Will Klein was when I'll admit it. I found out the Royals have a guy named Will Klein when he was announced as the Futures Game representative for the Royals at the All-Star Game.
I was surprised, but it's not because Will Klein's not a good prospect. I mean, the dude throws 101 fairly consistently. He's got a huge curveball. He's a fifth-round pick. Like, he's talented. And in hindsight, like if they're doing some things to Mazzucato and Kudrna, they want to keep their routines, and they're like, hey, you guys will have an opportunity to do it next year. It makes a ton of sense where they're at developmentally. And I do think Will Klein's deserving.
Cool. All right. No, that maybe they did call and say, "Hey, we want Kudrna." And they're like, "No, you can't have him." No. We're working with next year. We'll go that route. But yeah, that's interesting because I sort of looked at it as kind of an indictment of the farm system. That this guy that's like, okay, this is the future, a bullpen guy. A reliever is the guy that's going to be a part of the futures game. But yeah, I do. It would make sense that there's got to be communication between the organization and the representatives that are choosing the futures game roster as to who's actually going to be there in the All-Star game. That's a good point. I never thought about it like that. Alex Duvall, Royals Farm Report at Royals Farm. Alex, great stuff as always, man. Appreciate the time. We'll see what Alec Marsh does tonight. I'm more excited to watch his debut in talking to you. So we'll see if he can go out there and do some of the things that this Royals organization is hoping they can get from him. Thank you, man. I appreciate it as always, and we'll catch up soon.
Jason, thanks, sir.
Absolutely. There's Alex Duvall. Great stuff, man. Follow him at Royals Farm. And as he mentioned at the website, RoyalsFarmReport.com, he does have the cheat sheet for the draft. And one of those things that he writes about Noble Meyer, who has been connected with the Royals for some time, and that's the high school right-handed pitcher, which, again, my general philosophy, I'm not taking high school kids in the first round in the top 10. I'm taking college bats. But he talks about the track record that's not there, and he goes, he's a legitimately elite talent and electric pitching prospect. But I'm not going to, generally do not want anything to do with being the first team to draft a prep righty inside the top 10. With that being said, he's really good. Like really, really, really good is Noble Meyer. And indications are the Royals really love him if he's there at number 8. And I will say, as much as they talk about how good this draft class is, and it sucks that they're not drafting in the top 5, where they would have been without the lottery, that, hey, there are 5 studs, and then there's a drop-off. Well, if the draft class wasn't this stacked, then a Noble Meyer wouldn't be there at number 8, probably. So maybe that's the positive spin. Got to find some positives, damn it. Maybe that's the case. But do you want to go the route of this guy's got electric stuff and the second best stuff in the entire draft, even as a high schooler, that you just can't walk away from that if he's sitting there at number 8 if you're the Royals. And they have not been scared of drafting high school pitchers, whether that's good or not. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. More Zone next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810.
All right, thank you to Alex Duvall, Royals Farm Report, joining us. Talking some Rawls, but some minor Rawls.
Really? Aren't
draft.
some major roles minor roles, too, these days?
Well, sometimes major is minor, and sometimes what's minor is major.
There are a lot of AAA teams that would have more than 23 wins right now. What do they have, 23?
They are exactly 22 and 59. Exactly.
I thought they had 22 before yesterday.
They did.
They're
23 and 58.
And 58. Like I said, 23 and 58. So apparently I went ahead and gave them a loss yesterday.
I came back twice yesterday.
Apparently I made this format in the top of the 10th inning. After Ramirez stole home,
right.
Apparently I put the record for the Royals on today's format. Yes, that is a mistake. They are 23 and 58.
Are you at all encouraged by just really the sobering stat of 30 losses this year? Might be 29 or 30 losses this year after holding a lead? That okay, at least at some point it might be the first inning. They are beating these actual real major league clubs. They're ahead of them, and then they lose it.
You're asking somebody who, if you said, are you encouraged by this particular thing about a really bad Royals team, that the answer is going to be yes. I mean, so yes, I'm encouraged by that because, I mean, it's just my general initial
disposition.
thought.
You're just positive.
Yeah, it's just like, are you encouraged by this? Yeah. Hope springs eternal, I guess. There was a stat that Curtis had at one point that when the Royals score first, they were like 2-18 or something stupid like that. Like when the Royals score in the first inning, they're like 2-18. It's like, what in the? It might be worse. I mean, I don't know that they've only scored in the first inning 20 games out of 81, but it's something extremely absurd.
Right?
It seems about right to me. Actually, yeah.
But it was an absurd stat of how often they lost the games where they held a lead after the first inning. So yes. To me, it's encouraging to a degree, but everything is sort of taken with a grain of salt of, okay, it's encouraging, but really who's doing that? So is it encouraging where, hey, Zach Greinke did this on the mound? Or, hey, Aroldis Chapman was doing this. It's encouraging from Aroldis Chapman because can you get something back for him in a trade? But yeah, if it's the younger guys that are doing some of the things, to me, it's going to be encouraging in a season that's an evaluation year. Let me take a break.
Yeah, that's his drink phrase now, we've decided. So I'm small sample size. He's evaluation year.
Yeah, his nickname actually is small sample size.
Yeah, that's what we often say. Mick, you just drink whenever we say, welcome back into the zone. You can start drinking immediately.
Do I have a catchphrase?
I don't know. Have we found something for Mick that we say?
No. The reason we haven't is because this is actually intervention. We're really concerned about your drinking habits. So we're going to try to give you some phrases that like, hey, Mick, please stop. Mick, you're hurting yourself. Those are kind of your phrases.
At the pool today for you, will there be a plethora of beers today at the pool?
I mean, yeah. What's where do we hit plethora? Is that more than several?
It's a great question.
Definitely more than several.
I think several
couple?
starts at 5, 6, 7.
But plethora sort of feels like it's going to be
several.
A variety.
A variety.
Yes,
it's going to be a
you.
group of different types of beer and alcoholic beverages.
Much like corn cans, boys.
Yeah.
I've already packed the cooler.
Have you really? Proud of you. You look like you're ready to go. I think there's at least a system here where you got a couple, a few, several.
I've always said
several,
if you
so that I think a plethora is somewhere beyond that.
Drink a lot of the same beer, you're a drunk. If you mix it up, you're a connoisseur.
Yeah, no, that makes total
that's
sense.
great.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's a really good point. No, I'm just taking that's a flights of bourbon. It's your 15th one.
Yeah. It's a delicious. I feel like I'm flying.
I was just tasting the bottle. So, yes, I kept cleansing my palate with beer and then tasting the bottle of bourbon. And I wanted to see what the bottom of the bottle tasted like too. Did it taste the same? I found out. I actually don't remember what it tasted like, but I assume at the time it did or didn't. I'm going to find out tonight.
Guess I better do it again?
Yes, I guess I better find it. It's a great point. I've just assumed that a plethora was a mixture, a variety, but it's got to be a variety at a certain number because 2 wouldn't be a plethora.
I hate that word because 100% of the time when people use it, I just assume that they've seen Three Amigos a lot, which you haven't.
I haven't still.
And they think they're cute by saying it because that was a big, funny scene. Would you say I'd have a plethora?
Maybe that's why Travis Kelce said it.
I'm sure it's why. So that in a way, Three Amigos really ruined that word for everybody.
But see, the dictionary definition of plethora, a large or excessive amount of something.
So I would say
not
double
explicitly
digits.
variety.
I'd say
Yeah.
double digits at least.
I mean, it's weird because I'm usually a wordsmith. So when I hear plethora, I think it's going to be more eclectic.
Is many more than many is more than several, right?
Manny or Minnie?
Manny.
Manny, like Ramirez.
Ramirez. There's only one of him though.
I would say you have a couple, you have a few.
Yeah.
Then you have
Manny.
many,
Several.
and then several. And
No, I think
then a plethora?
several and then Manny, and then a plethora.
I think it's several.
Where does
then
several
many.
start? 5, 6, 7?
I think several starts at 4. So I think a few
that's-
is 3.
Yeah. I feel like there should be something between.
I feel like a few and several is almost synonymous.
Yeah, there's a big crevasse between those two.
Yeah.
The deep, deep canyon.
Yeah.
I think
It's
a
good,
crevasse.
I like the emphasis there.
I think a crevasse is in ice. I think a crevice is in dirt. So we got to keep them cold. So I think you were right, Mick.
Crevasse is a big, like, canyon, like big gap, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always thought of it as that.
CREVASSE.
A crevasse is sometimes narrow enough to jump across, but never wide as a ravine or canyon.
Perfect. Then there is some
A
sort of
crevasse,
gap.
but it's about the sheer
between
depth
but
as a
not
crevasse.
large.
Few. Exactly. It's not huge, but
Yeah.
there needs to be something to fill that gap.
Yeah. I think few and several kind of are the same to me. If somebody
No
says, oh,
way.
it's few, it's several.
A few's 3.
Yeah, but several.
Several's
There's-
7. I've always thought
7?
several and 7.
Oh,
I think there's
wow.
a reason for that. First 4 letters are the same.
I think that's just coincidental.
I think you have to apologize to me,
Because
Mick. This says here, crevices,
17 also and 7D also have the same letters.
crevices
So-
are cracks or splits caused by a fracture of rock, while a crevasse is a deep fracture in a glacier or ice sheet. The more you know.
Oh, really? It's in ice? But it's
We're keeping the beers cold here. I think we want it to be a crevasse.
I want it to be a crevasse.
Les Norman wants to know, how much is a bunch?
That's a good one.
We're going to have a bunch of beers.
Or a lot. Or a boatload.
But would bunch need to have
Ass ton.
I don't think bunch has a specific number.
No.
It's just you have to get past a specific number to be bunch.
Yeah, but eventually you go from bunch to a lot.
What about a handful?
Well, depends on
Handful
what the
could be
object
like
is.
4, 5, 6.
It's it's 5 to 10.
I can't hold 5 to 10 beers in a hand, though.
Unless you're Antonio Alfonseca, then it could be 6.
How many beers can I hold in a hand?
That is a great point of a handful. So with beers, that's a good point. It's not necessarily digits.
I could
It's
definitely
just what
hold 6 like from above for a little bit, right? Like I was gonna bring beers in. You go 3 in each hand.
Yeah, that's a good
What,
point.
do you have the,
so 6
the
would
plastic carrying?
No, I think that's a performance enhancer.
Okay.
It's a PEP, performance enhancing
No,
plastic.
I think bunch is when you get past like 10.
Oof.
You get past 10, it's like, well, there's going to be a bunch.
So if I go home and have 7 beers, how many? What's my word choice?
Well,
There's
according to
gotta be a
Mick, you
website
just
for
had
this, by the way.
several.
Yeah.
You've only had several, which seems like if you said I had several beers, you had 7?
Yeah.
No, I only had like 3 or 4.
No,
oh,
several
okay.
can't be 3, you maniac.
I think it'd be 4
Several
though.
cannot
I think
be
it can
3.
be 4.
Well, if you want to...
I think a few is definitely 3, right?
I feel like there's probably a website for this.
I haven't been able. This has been long debated from.
It's never
linguists.
been like given specific numbers with it.
It's vague.
It's to each their own discussion.
4 is a crowd.
Yeah.
It's 3's company.
Well, 3 is a magic number.
All right,
Man and a woman
Merriam
had a little baby.
Merriam-Webster has a headline here: couple, few, and several. The mostly definitive guide.
Great. What's the mostly definitive guide?
Couple is used to refer to 2 things, but is also often used for a small number greater than 2.
No.
Stop
nope.
it.
Couple is
What's
two.
a small
Couple, 2
number
things,
greater
right?
than
It's a
2?
couple.
3?
Unless you're in Utah, that couple I guess can be more than 2.
It's a great point. Few is used the same way as couple. And,
They're a nice couple that's coming over tonight. Are they?
but we have the word throuple for that. That's a word that exists now.
I mean, couple was 2. That's why you call somebody who's married or dating a couple. It's a
Force them after that.
we have words for these things.
which is
yeah.
obviously 5.
And don't even get me started on the Big 12 again. We already did that earlier. Few is used the same way as couple and also for a number slightly greater than a couple. Several is usually used for a number greater than a couple and a few. Occasionally, it is used in the same way as couple and few.
No way. No way.
The dictionary has made this more confusing. We need to take this back.
And by doing that, we'll take a break.
Thank God.
And we will come back and get back
Favorite segment ever.
on track.
We'll be back in a few.
Here in a few
or
minutes,
a couple or several minutes.
Hopefully several minutes. I got to pee.
I don't know. I got stuff to do. Let's take a bunch of minute breaks.
I got a few things that I'd like to accomplish. Several things we want to talk to Mick about.
We're going to play like a palette of breaks that are going on right now. I mean, how many do you think we should take? Like, is it going to be like a
ton,
a mini, a few?
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Drake. Mick Schaefer hanging out with us on this Friday edition of the show. Tex says, how much is a gaggle?
Oh, man. Great question. Gobs, at least.
But not for this segment.
I bet we could talk till 2 o'clock on this.
Tex says, this is like the drunk guy saying, I only had a couple. Wade Boggs, I'm going to drink 100 beers.
That's what. So, what did Wade? How many beers did Wade Boggs drink? I don't want the numeral again. I heard you. Could it be a plethora? Was there a variety? He drank a lot of beers.
See? Jumbo. See, that also then changes it. So just a couple, but what was the size? You know? There you go. Tex says, well, yeah, that's a few too many.
I could definitely drink mini beers if they're small.
Oh, yeah, many.
So that would also be, this is
That's a
really
good
tough.
point.
We got to just start measuring things in like ounces. I want to know how many ounces of beers you drink this weekend, Mick. All right. Just keep a tally for me, would you?
Yeah. Yes, please. And then we will decide if that is
I get
many
beard
or
out
many.
pretty quick. After several, I will move on to dark stuff.
Likewise.
Same.
Case and Massey. Kansas State got a recruiting victory yesterday in football.
Is it Kaysen or Caden?
Caden.
Yep.
It's Caden.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said it's fine. I'll tell you off the air. But Caden Massey.
From Linden, Kansas.
That's right.
Everybody know where that is?
It's
Kansas.
It is in Kansas.
Nailed it.
Very small school. Like 2A.
East of Colorado?
It is east of Colorado.
West of
It is
Missouri.
south of Nebraska, though.
Well, Nebraska's thoughts of getting him went south. That's for sure.
Is it north of Mexico?
No, it's not actually.
Okay. Weird.
So
I would put it straight south of Topeka.
Cool. Caden Massey chooses Kansas State. He's staying home, and it's another Kansas State prospect that's going to Kansas State as Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Ole Miss were on the table, and he chose Kansas State. And
Ole Miss recruits a lot up here now.
Yeah, and they got the win, and it's not a surprise that they got the win because Chris Kleiman has been killing it at Kansas State.
Kansas State forever has been a small-town Kansas school. If you're a standout athlete from a small town in Kansas, they usually lock down the borders.
And that's when you say, I'm staying home. It's a different concept in basketball, probably, of I'm staying home and going to Kansas. But you're right, smaller school, smaller town, I'm staying home, you're going to K-State. But also beating out Nebraska and Oklahoma for him. Because that's a big deal. Because they're in different conferences.
Oklahoma's a big deal. But, I mean, to a 17, 18-year-old kid right now, is Nebraska anything?
And that, to me, is part of the conversation that can even be a bigger conversation is forever K-State was not going to beat Nebraska in a head-to-head recruiting battle. If Nebraska wanted to come down to Kansas and get somebody, they're going to get that player and not Kansas State. And then Nebraska's going to tap Kansas State on the head and go, bless your heart, as they drive right past Manhattan up to Lincoln with the recruit that is there that chose Nebraska. And now it's not a surprise at all. I actually would have been surprised had he gone to Nebraska over Kansas State.
Because you're growing up, you're not watching in Linden, Kansas, which is straight south Topeka, probably just west of Emporia a little bit. You're not watching Big Ten football, right? You're every Saturday. It's K-State and Texas Tech, right?
Yeah.
It's KU and Iowa State. It's K-State and Oklahoma. Kind of out of sight, out of mind there.
Yeah. Yep. And now, like, Oklahoma's a big one, like you said. But if there's another recruiting battle that Nebraska and Kansas State, Nebraska winning is now the surprise.
It is.
And that's what it's twofold. It's what Nebraska in the Big Ten. It's what the evolution of football as well from the national brand to also then regional recruiting. So regional recruiting's helping out national brands because some of those national brands in the Southeast or other football-specific heavy recruiting background and backyards that are already there where they can just recruit to. Where Nebraska, it would be tough to go get Tommy Frazier from the East Coast to go to Nebraska or Lawrence Phillips to end up going to Nebraska over some of the schools in the SEC. That'd be difficult to do now. So it's circumstantial. It's the Big Ten. And it's some of that out of sight, out of mind. If you're in Kansas and you're watching Kansas State, you're watching, Kansas now in football, but you're watching the Big 12, or you're even watching the SEC, Or if you're watching the Big Ten, you're probably watching Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, something like that. It's not exactly the, hey, Nebraska's on TV, therefore I have to watch. And 10 years since that switch has happened?
More
10 years?
than, it was 11. When in 2011? It's been 12 years?
I'm just saying, like, since the move from Nebraska and Kansas State sort of battling to where it's like, yeah, this isn't a surprise anymore. It would be a surprise if they went to Nebraska. Is that recent? Or does that go back even? Because the mid-2000s, Nebraska was still in the Big 12. And they were still going to be grabbing some players, and they were still good. They were still national. They were still winning the North.
They weren't. I remember in like 01 to 03, all those old Big 8 schools finally broke these 30-year streaks of losing to Nebraska. Oklahoma State was one of them. Kansas State and KU were all. They finally got their big boy. I think KU routed them one time, and they're like, "Okay, we owe you about 100 more of those, but
we'll get you back."
Yeah, we'll because Nebraska, Tom Osborne, gentle Dr. Tom didn't really care about whipping people's butts back in the day. Caden Massey, by the way, this is how big he is. Mill Valley has a kid in that class going to K-State. He's 6'7", 280. He drove to Linden yesterday for his commitment, and our guy at Mill Valley looked like Caden Massey's little brother. That kid right there. That kid right there is 6'7".
Get out.
Okay, that's how big kid.
No way.
Yeah, that's how big this kid is.
So I kind of zoned out. He recruited to play left tackle at K-State. Is that what you guys were saying?
Tackle.
Yeah. And he could help right away. Like they're talking about competing this year for him.
I was at a camp, and he was there, and he's a monster. He's gigantic.
Chris Kleiman, man. I'm starting to think that they got it right.
There's an ESPN story with Matt Rule building back one baby shower and full back camp at a time. That feels like what they need to really get their foundation back.
You know what? Let's have a gender reveal prospect university announcement.
The archery range with Brad McGee from LBA Home Services. Brad, ready to take your first shot?
All right, hanging out here on this Friday edition of the show, heading up until 2 o'clock. Jason Anderson, Josh Brisco, Drake, Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 Sports Director, joining us here as we head up until 2 o'clock. John Sherman had his press conference yesterday, roughly an hour, covered a lot of ground, and actually even in the room covering a lot of ground, just walking around.
He just come at you if you asked him a question.
Holding a town hall, just a regular Jerome
Doesn't
Tang
work
up
great
there.
when you've got your microphone plugged into the malt box there and you need good audio.
That's what I was saying. I'm like, this is the best audio we can get. Oh, that's why everybody's is like that, because he's walking around.
It's on a hoverboard. That seems weird.
This is weird. So we talked for an hour, a lot of ground covered. Mick, your takeaway and reaction from John Sherman talking with the assembled media.
It kind of went about like I thought it would. He's acknowledged the North Kansas City bid, and I think probably played it up more than more seriously than they're taking it. I would guess. Has acknowledged all the work they've done in the East Village and all that, and it went a long time. And so I appreciate that. I mean, baseball guys are usually, with Dayton Moore, John Sherman, they're guys that will talk to you for a long time, longer than you want sometimes. And I mean, most of it's probably true, and I don't know how much isn't. But yeah, I mean, I don't really. I mean, we didn't come away with. We're still looking for concrete where and when. We don't have that still yet.
It was a general.
I feel like it was just
when.
Yeah. I appreciated his honesty about this is not going, this year's not going as well as we thought it would. Nowhere near so. And so those were the kind of the sound bites I ran. It's funny. I went to the park yesterday thinking after the game I'd just do some stand-ups and we would talk about John Sherman because nothing goes on with the Royals, and they had a walk-off in the 10th inning. So we covered that as well. So nothing big at all overall.
The thing that to me the takeaway was, Josh and I got in the conversation yesterday of when he says no one is waiting on us, that we're the party of urgency. That when I heard that initially, and the words that he was clearly wanting to emphasize, given the Kansas City Star article that just came out, my immediate reaction was, how can you not be, or how can you be the party of urgency and no one is waiting on you when the city, the county doesn't even know what site you're going to go to? But as he talked more and more, and as I, re-listened to some of the things in sound bites that he was talking about, the more and more I think he was talking about the Chiefs. That we're the party of urgency here. No one is waiting on us. There are other people involved that don't have the same timeline, that don't have the urgency we have, that there are many layers to go through here. And then even later on in the press conference saying the Royals are probably or the Chiefs are probably appreciative of us out here taking the bullets for them.
Yeah.
Which is the Chiefs aren't necessarily involved in here's all of the things immediately that we need to work on and get done so you guys can go and get this on the ballot. That there is no immediacy for the Royals or for the Chiefs. The Chiefs have said, well, we can wait till 2031. We don't have a timeline like yours. And I wonder if there was a balancing act, not even wonder, I think there was an absolute balancing act from John Sherman to try to say, in a way, we are wanting this to go faster without ostracizing and blaming the Chiefs, who they very much need to be a part of this along the way to get this whole thing done, for them to be anywhere near on the ballot in April. That's a balancing act for John Sherman that he was trying to walk that tightrope yesterday.
Yeah, I agree, and they don't, but it is a good point when he said, I thought the same thing when he said we're taking the bullets for him, and that the Chiefs are like, well, Kaufman, they're moving, so we got to blow up Arrowhead now, so we're going to need if they hadn't moved, we'd just be fine here. And so I could see them using that as leverage, and that's the reason why they're going to build something new out there.
And it has to, whatever they come up with, whatever the Royals and Jackson County come up with, it has to benefit the Chiefs too. And so they can sit back and go, no, we want a little bit more over there. we're not the ones trying to get this in April. We're not the ones trying to get this on the ballot in April. You guys are the ones that are doing it. Dan Tarwater was on with Todd Lebo and Curtis Siebold on Wednesday, and he had said that the Royals came to them wanting to get it on the ballot in August of 22. And because he said, well, in August, and Todd was like, August of this year. And he goes, no, August of last year is when they wanted it on the ballot. And he talked about that, well, they didn't have a destination. They didn't know how. They didn't know where. They didn't know all of these things. And it's like, yeah, you got to do all of that stuff before you can even start to go down the path. Like, their view was, hey, we can get this thing done and get it on the ballot. And I think their view is the quicker we get downtown, the quicker we can do some other things with this ball club. And that's where their urgency comes in is, again, as I've said, I don't think they want to be on the November ballot. I think they absolutely want the April ballot. Destination, or excuse me, the deadlines usually spur action. And I don't know what the point of no return is for the Royals in getting something done to be on the ballot in April. But I'm wondering if close to that is when the Chiefs are really going to be like, okay, now let's talk. All right, now. You really want to be on in April? Okay, here's what we think needs to happen to be a part of this, how it's really going to benefit us. And I think at that point, they'll probably have decided that they're going to go to the East Village. And then it's a matter of getting whatever done with the Chiefs. And then it'll go pretty quickly once it gets to the point of being on the ballot in April. I believe it'll be on the ballot in April. Mm-hmm. I think it's too important to the Royals not to be. And right now, until they have something figured out with how the Chiefs are going to go about this too, the site kind of doesn't matter to a degree.
Well, I wonder if they need that competition to just push through with Jackson County some of the things they want and some of the last little details that they want, like just kind of hang Clay County over their head a little bit.
Yeah, because city and county, how much they may also kick in along with the state, which wouldn't affect Clay or Jackson where it goes if they're expecting the state to kick in money, which it sounded like they're expecting the state to kick in from what the baseline is, 300 and 350, to then the $1 billion that he talked about was going to be private financing. That gap there of $700 million might be from state and local, not necessarily increase in 3/8 cent tax, but hey, here's money that's going to be given to the Royals to help build this. Hey, privately they're going to finance $1 billion. Well, the tax is going to give them $350, and the state and the city is also going to contribute to the rest to get this thing to $2 billion, and then they're going to cover the overage, which he said that the overage of whatever the financing will be covered by the Royals and the private financing and all of that stuff. Nothing with the state. The thing that I find to be interesting in sort of packaging of the conversation is North Kansas City's part in this, in why that would be useful for the Royals to move from Kaufman to North Kansas City. Because if we go back when they announced that they were going to be moving and they're going to be looking at sites and destinations and everything, we all knew it was going to be the East Village. A big part of their presentation was revitalizing downtown and impact for the underserved communities around that area, that this is going to be so beneficial to that area downtown, and it's going to benefit the local community. Well, North Kansas City isn't downtown. And if you heard yesterday, John Sherman specifically said, well, we view that as sort of making it now an extension of downtown. We view that as now you can almost extend downtown to across the river.
It's a figurative bridge. There's a lot of literal bridges there, but this is figurative.
Because he's trying to find a way to tie it back into what this whole thing is to downtown. It's about downtown and revitalizing in those areas that underserved, downtown this and downtown that. In KC ain't downtown. Well, it can be if we just sort of extend it a little bit over there. What if we just throw a rod right across the river and say it's downtown now? Like, that part of it is kind of interesting to say.
I mean, it goes against the whole premise of having a downtown stadium.
To not have it downtown,
right? I mean, it's all about foot traffic, right? You're just catching the fans, the people that are down there. That's where the bulk or a large faction of the city works, right? And you just after work, hey, catch a game, and it's all about that. And I'm sure there's plenty of people that work in North Kansas City, but it pales in comparison to those that work just south of there across the river in downtown.
I mentioned there are three groups of people, I feel like, in this discussion right now. And there's one particular group that I'm fascinated by what's going on at the big league level as to how it affects them. So here are the three groups that I think are taking place in terms of winning the stadium, not winning the stadium, and this 2023 version of the Kansas City Royals. If you're against the stadium move, I think it is a very easy directional complaint to say, this team sucks. And until you can figure out that, I ain't worrying about a downtown stadium. I didn't want it anyway, but now I can talk about this team, fix this team, which ain't going to happen overnight, and it's not going to be fixed before they want this thing on the ballot. Fix this team, and then we'll worry about a downtown stadium. If you don't want a stadium, you've got an easy out to direct your frustration. If you want the stadium or you're for the idea and the premise, you can separate the team record and view it independent of what the spot will be to where they will play their games. The group that I'm fascinated by is the ones that aren't really sure either way, that are like, well, I do love Kauffman, but I kind of understand what downtown would be, and it's, want to continue to be in that particular city and everything and revitalize it. I can understand both of those, and maybe the Chiefs can do this. How much of their sort of view, how much of the big league team's frustration spills over into stadium talk? Like, how much of the frustration with the stadium and how it's packaged by John Sherman and the Royals is more about how pissed off they are about what the product on the field looks like? Because if the Chiefs were going through the same thing right now, and it was the same packaging and the same presentation, and Jackson County saying, we're in purgatory, it'd be like, shut up, Jackson County. Yeah. Shut up, guys. All right, the Chiefs are winning. All right, we'll deal with where the Chiefs want to go. Let them figure it out. Why are you trying to rush them along in this thing, okay? Maybe you should be doing a little bit more for the Chiefs right now because of what they're doing. Instead, this team sucks. The organization has sucked for a while, so therefore the elected officials, which typically aren't what the public sides with, right, are the ones that are like, yeah, the political people, they're right on this one. Damn it, Royals, figure it out. I just think that there's probably a good portion of the frustration of the big leagues that's spilling over into the stadium talk.
Absolutely, it's tied together. Absolutely. And you mentioned the three groups. I wonder how large that third group is.
It sort of can go either way.
The swing group there, right?
Yeah, I can be convinced one way or another.
Yeah, in elections, it's the
independents.
The undecided voters.
Undecided, that's what it is. The undecided voters, yeah.
Because I would guess that it's the smallest of the three, and everybody's kind of dug in. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's 40% each way, and I think that's a large part. We've talked about them. They've polled groups of people out there in Jackson County as far as
a few of them, several people. Is it a bunch of people?
I've heard boatloads. Okay, really, they're on the water and everything.
A pallet of people,
and I don't know if they liked what they saw, and maybe they didn't. They realized that this wasn't such a slam dunk to get past, but absolutely the success on the field is tied into if it's almost like the Royals don't deserve this, and they don't. But I mean, Kansas City deserves a Major League Baseball team. And I think that's where a lot of us are, especially those of us that are close to it. We realize, okay, baseball doesn't have to be here forever, right? You have to hold on to it, and this is in the long term going to be better, more revenue streams, which increases payroll, which brings in better players, which leads to more winning. So that's, I think, the horse, and then the winning's the cart.
Yeah, horse, cart. Which one's first? My location preferences are number one, anywhere in Kansas City, as long as it stays in Kansas City. Number one. Number two is downtown. Number three is Kauffman, and then number one takes care of the rest. Okay, so wherever that might be, if it's going to be where, what's the old water park that closed in 2019 over
Schlitterbahn,
where the Schlitterbahn location where the Royals could build a stadium going there just on the east side of 435 in that area. Like, that would be a spot, that'd be a location for the ballpark if they were thinking of Kansas. To me, number one is in Kansas City. Number two, my preference is for a downtown ballpark. Yeah. It doesn't mean that
it
no
makes
matter
the
what.
Most sense. I mean, you look at the charts they have now. I mean, the outliers. I think it's only Texas and Arlington is the only park farther away from downtown than than Kaufman is. There might be a couple others.
Is
but
Atlanta's now? Like, I haven't even seen the destination of them.
It's got the circle graph, but I mean, 25.
Well, Atlanta's going to be a longer drive to get there from downtown than Kaufman, because it's going to take you an hour to drive a mile in Atlanta. So.
I've got this graph here. It's Texas by a ton. I'll flip it on so you guys can see. It's Texas by a ton, but we've talked about the Rangers building around there anyway, right? They're building in Arlington, so that's kind of funny. But then, I mean, it's no one is close to the Rangers. And
the
then
Royals are just outside of
Royals,
5 miles.
the Yankees and Mets,
But
Braves in
that
Atlanta.
entire area is a downtown, right? In New York.
But the Angels, is
Jay Kuda original graphic right here.
Oh, that's the Braves. Yeah. So Atlanta is a little bit further
What team
out.
logo is that?
That's
the East.
The east side. Atlanta's a little further out than the Royals are.
Yeah, but right in the 5 to 10 mile range.
Yeah, so it's roughly the same.
The Cubs being here is insane because that's the one that I always talk about, just like running into Wrigley by accident. So I wonder what the definition of downtown was. I can't remember from the. I'll see if I can find that
look,
tweet,
and that's Chicago and New York, right? And
right.
then Dallas for top 5 markets, right, where you can afford it. There's people all over the place. Look inside there. You've got the Pirates, right? You have Minneapolis. You've got
Rockies,
the Reds. Tampa's not far.
Tampa's in a different city.
It's in St. Petersburg, but they're like.
But it's a downtown St. Petersburg.
It's downtown, pretty close anyway.
That's a good point.
Because being downtown Tampa Bay would be odd if they were in the water.
That is true. You don't want to go down. Down Tampa is you're underwater.
Do you live in Tampa Bay? No, I live on the land.
I live just outside of it, just on the surface.
Yeah, I'm not on a houseboat. It would be cool if I lived in the Bay, but
and looking at attendance levels, I probably shouldn't use Tampa as an example for this exercise.
Yeah, and we'll see where their stadium is going to be, where they're going to move their stadium. What's going to happen there? What's going to happen in Milwaukee? What's going to happen in Oakland? I thought it was worth noting. We didn't even talk about it yesterday, but I thought it was worth noting when he brought up having the commissioner maybe talk about the different things of a new stadium and all of that stuff, to where, the commissioner showed up to Milwaukee to essentially say, we got these cities that we're looking to put some Major League Baseball teams in. Nashville would like a city, would like a team, and, Portland would like a team, and Vegas certainly would like a team. But yeah, you guys keep worrying about the stadium and everything. I mean, that was kind of the point that Rob Manfred showed up to Milwaukee when they're going through whatever they're going through right now, because the A's are going to move to Vegas. Nashville's going to get a baseball team. Tampa, wherever they go, Major League Baseball wants these particular stadium issues resolved before they expand. Yeah. And they want to know what Milwaukee, Tampa, Oakland, and Kansas City are going to be doing with their stadiums before they say, we're going to expand to these cities. Because if they have to throw the threat down of, nope, you're going to move from that city if you don't give them a new stadium, you don't want to just expand to 2 new cities and go, yeah, well, where are they going to move now? Oh, good point. Good point. So let's get these stadium deals done with still the threat of moving before we expand and go to 32 teams.
If the Royals moved to Oakland, it'd be easier to watch them on TV.
I can watch every A's game. I didn't miss I wouldn't have, if I wanted to, I wouldn't have missed a pitch of that perfect game by Herman. Did you know, I saw the stat the other day. Did you know he's the first pitcher to throw a perfect game after serving a half-season suspension for domestic violence?
I would have assumed that, actually.
Yeah,
and shortly after being
first one to do that,
removed for sticky stuff on his hands, right?
Yep, he's the first pitcher, maybe not the sticky stuff, I don't know, I haven't looked into that one, but the first pitcher to serve a half-season suspension for domestic violence and throw a perfect game.
So we should still be standing up applauding him, is what you're saying.
We talk about the Ohtani's the first to do this, and Ohtani's the first to do that, and we fall out of our chairs talking about that, but people are just ignoring this one from Herman. So that's cool.
We already gloss over baseball pretty fast on a national level.
Yeah.
This was one that you get 2 paragraphs into the story. Why haven't I heard more about this perfect game?
Well, for us, the reason we didn't talk about the perfect game is because we were on the air at 10:30 after John Sherman finished up his hour-long conversation. We didn't even mention it yesterday because so many different things to talk about. But yeah, and the vote and part of being a major league city and what you talked about, the poll of the public and what they may think about moving downtown or keeping it at Kauffman and renovating. He did, when he said, the people that I've talked to, and there's positive reaction for this. He said they want to remain a major league city. Like, they like having the teams in town, the people that I've talked to. Yeah, that's not the same, John. That's not the same as we have positive reaction from the people we're talking to of moving downtown. No, people are very much in favor of us not moving to a different city.
He finally flat out said it yesterday. He's like, it's time to move out of Kaufman. I mean, he wasn't beating around the bush. He wasn't mincing words. Early on, it was like, we're going to explore downtown. And after that, I'm like, yeah, we really want to move downtown. He's like, no, we got to go. We got to leave Kaufman. Here's the deal. Desperation a little bit.
Yeah.
His voice.
My son's waiting on the financing plan for the Little K before he lets people know exactly where he stands on that.
Well, he stands about a quarter inch too high.
Yeah, that's the deal.
Yeah, he actually threw a perfect game against the kids in the Little K the other day. So nobody put anything in play, because he's 25 apparently. We'll take a timeout. More Zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts.
internet for everyone in your home and all their devices.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Drake, Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 Sports Director, hanging out with us here in the zone. You know, Travis Kelce was in the zone last night. They're playing some golf.
Tell me about it.
I would have lost a lot of money if, one, I would have bet a lot of money on Steph and Clay to win. I would have lost that because, they lost. I also would have lost a lot of money if they said pick any of the four to be the second best golfer of the group. I would not have picked Kelce because I didn't know
who was the best golfer of the group.
I think Steph was the best.
I mean, he's clearly the best. He did not play. I don't know if
he didn't play the best, but I think the overall
Mahomes did not play his best either.
I think the overall from start to finish shots that Steph had, was better than
he actually
Kelce's
found the fairway a few times.
Yeah, and so
he was better than Kelce. I'm just wondering, was he better? I mean, they took more of Mahomes' shots, but Kelce was a short game king.
Kelce was really good. I think Kelce was the second best golfer that was there yesterday. So I would have lost a lot of money on that, but it was fun.
He was pretty wayward off the tee, man.
He was.
We're just like,
but
aim
so was
lefter.
But so was Mahomes. Mahomes was spraying it, and then even had a drive that was like 100 feet.
Mahomes hit
100 yards.
Really short.
He had that screamer.
Really low, yeah.
He had that screamer that went all the way past the hole on a par 4.
Yeah, we were looking up the card for the Wynn Golf Course. I think they maneuvered it around. Like, it looked like one of those par 3s. They were in the middle of a par 4 fairway. Like, they just set up kind of a 12-hole course for these guys. And it seemed like every tee shot, they were looking at that big ball out there. What is that? That big round sphere. The big black sphere they had out there looked like a big old spaceship.
Oh, it's Epcot.
They got one of those in Vegas? I don't know.
Mick, do you mean the hole?
Is that what it is? Oh no, this thing's
it's like a
10
hotel.
stories.
It's like
10 stories.
You just were describing it.
Yeah. If I knew anything about Vegas, I would probably let you know there. But I do know about the big golf ball looking thing that's Epcot. I could tell you all about that. I was just there. But you're right. They set it up because there was a par 4 that they drive and it's like, oh, you're off to the right, and then it zooms out and I'm like, that's like 2 feet from the green.
Yeah, there
on
were
a par
lot
4.
of short
like,
par 4s. They set up for those guys not to fail,
which is perfectly
That's very
fine.
Cool.
If we had to have a little flag football game with a bunch of PGA guys, I would be cool with them not
making it 100 yards.
You want to go 50, maybe some Arena League rules. That would be okay with me. Yeah.
Yeah, I can totally.
I don't need to see
understand
Phil
that.
hurt himself.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I guess just golf guys, I should say. PGA.
Love to see Phil try to play flag football. I don't think that's going to work out for him.
He throws lefty. Be Tua.
But Mahomes a heck of a putter, and Kelce was giving him good reads, and he would just kind of miss him. Like,
Kelce had some touch.
A lot of touch around the green. He had the best approach shots or the best, bump and run kind of short game shots.
And maybe it's because I look at Kelce as being the second best because my expectations were so low for Kelce because I've seen him at.
We thought he was gonna be the fourth best.
Yeah, I've seen him in Tahoe, and I know he struggles. I had no idea what Klay Thompson looked like on the golf course, but I expected him to be
very
better
conservative,
than what that was.
apparently, because he was taking 3-wood, he's taking iron, to where you could tell their plan was, I'm going to get out there, right in the fairway, safe one, you blast off, Steph, and it worked a couple times. Most of the time, it didn't, and Klay does not seem like a good hang. Right?
No, he doesn't.
It seemed like a whole lot of fun.
Did you see the picture that I tweeted out that they took the picture of the 4 golfers and put it out there before the match and as part of the preview and everything? I looked at that.
Mahomes the shortest, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I looked at that.
You think Steph's really short, but no, he's like 6'3".
No, I looked at that and I should have said, all right, I'm putting money on Kelce and Mahomes because Klay looks like his mom made him wear that outfit to go to like a graduation party during the summer.
The more fun you have in that format, and the less expectations you have. I'm gonna go out. We're gonna pound some CL smoothies, have a good time, joke around with the crowd. I think that's because I guarantee you. Those 4 were more nervous during that thing than any Super Bowl or any NBA Finals.
Oh, Mahomes has said that on the at the first tee for the match last year, I think it was, or maybe it was the first time at American Century, but the first time he teed up in one of those tournaments where fans lined.
Kelsey could have killed somebody yesterday.
Yeah.
They had that one. The right is out in the right rough.
It seems like Clay did kill somebody.
And there was a tent.
Clay might have.
There was a tent right there, and people were just lined up. And they moved him back a little bit. I'm like, man, you got to move him back more. That's just you're just a centimeter away from him, like towing one right into somebody's gut.
Well, even Mahomes was saying, guys, you got to move. We're not pros here.
No,
we're not pros. And then Ernie Johnson say that, well, those guys standing right there by the goal, they're brave. And Charles said, they some damn fools.
Or dumb.
They're damn idiots.
But then Kelsey striped that one. That was a great shot.
It was great. But I looked at the picture, and I'm like, Clay looks like he was told to put on that outfit. Like Steph looks like he's about to pick up somebody for a date and let the dad know. Patrick looks like he, was just asked, like, do I work out? Well, I mean, yeah, from time to time. Why do you ask? Because he's clearly flexing with his arms in front of him.
Kelsey's still wearing one of his Vanity Fair outfits.
And Kelsey's got the hands like, all right, what are we doing tonight? Hey, what's up? All right, what are we doing? What's going on? What's popping tonight?
He had a matching top to those shorts, by the way.
I know, and then he took it off, yes. But that in this picture.
You notice the logo on Clay. There's a Clay logo, and then the other logo across from it.
Yeah,
I had forgotten about this until seeing it again. He signed a huge deal a while back with Anta, A-N-T-A. I think it might be a bigger brand internationally. But you can go left to right and go Adidas, Nike, Anta? And then Under Armour, presumably still for Steph,
I
right?
would guess he's still Under Armour.
I don't see a logo in the picture here, but I certainly expect that he's fully
But
decked out. But it looks like someone did make Clay wear that. Whoever Anta is,
right? It looks like Steph is telling the parents you have a lovely home.
Yes, he looks very polite.
Very polite. And it looks like Patrick is flexing with his arms in front of him. That's like, oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, from time to time I do. Just when I can get to the gym, what I'm saying. But no, it's from time to time. And Kelsey is about to go party.
Yeah, you could tell the basketball players had a game plan and probably overthought this thing too much. The football players were, let's go. Have a good
play,
time.
man.
Kelsey's just going to hit as far as I can. And then, I mean, at one point, for the first several holes, it was Mahomes hitting second. Then after a while, Mahomes was hitting first, and Kelsey was after him.
That's exactly right. Let's hear from a few of the clips from last night that we found to be fun. Here's Von Miller, who was getting pretty, comfortable being around Mahomes and Kelsey last night. I don't care, much to the chagrin of Bills fans probably, but Von Miller letting the Golden State Warriors know about who to place money on and who you should bet and bet against. Here, Von Miller is weighing in on what these guys should know about Kelsey and Mahomes.
Man, I told y'all, man, y'all cannot bet against Travis Kelce or Patrick Mahomes. Hey, try to tell him, man, you cannot bet against Travis Kelce, man. Or NFL, baby. I know.
I told him early, I'm the starter. He's the closer. Did I not tell you this?
You guys going crazy, man. Y'all know what it is, man.
You cannot. I told him, don't bet against Mahomes and Kelsey. That's right.
We got some sound beforehand. I don't remember if I talked about it on a Wednesday or not of these guys. And Kelsey was like, don't bet against me and Pat in Vegas. That's nothing against the Raiders. Nothing against the Raiders. But we've never lost there.
We don't lose in Vegas.
Whether it's golf, football, Wynn doesn't want to see us at the roulette table.
That's right. They don't lose in Vegas. Here's Von Miller. Later on, when the Chiefs team was getting ready to win, Steph Curry lining up a putt that needed to make to ensure that the match was going to extend a little bit longer. Here's Patrick Mahomes weighing in, and then you get a glimpse of Von Miller and maybe some NFL players' thoughts on Mahomes.
I wish Steph know what's going to happen if we don't make this thing.
Oh, that's that Pat Mahomes trash talk. Good minor physics, huh? Oh, shoot. Hey, when Pat Mahomes started trash talking, it's over.
Loop-de-loop around that thing.
It's over. You know that feeling, huh?
Like right middle trash.
When he started talking, it's over. I bet you know it was. We start congratulating guys. Hey, man, you're a great player, man. It's over. It really is.
That's pretty good.
Hey, you're a great player. It's over. You know that feeling real well, Draymond, and getting at Von Miller. I bet you're familiar with that. So, yeah.
Beforehand, they asked Travis, Like, you've been described as you and Patrick as less friends and more stepbrothers, right? He's like, absolutely. And the ironic thing is that we both sleepwalk. Patrick will sleepwalk and put his dad's wallet in the oven, and I'll put the pillows in the refrigerator, like the scene from Step Brothers. Is so
Great.
good.
I thought he was going to say Pat can just sleepwalk through games against the AFC West. He does.
No disrespect to the Raiders.
No disrespect to anybody of the Raiders or Chargers or Broncos, anybody else, or Warriors that now I guess are going to be a part of the AFC West now because still lose to the Chiefs. Let's play the clip of Mahomes taking a 3-1 dig at the Warriors. What Patrick Mahomes said didn't really come through well on the broadcast, so I cut it from Draymond essentially figuring out what Mahomes had just said, and Mahomes was telling Klay Thompson about, hey, there's a hole there, and then mentions it's a 3-1 hole. And that's where we pick it up, and Draymond figures out what he just said.
Hey, Pat, what did you just say?
What?
What you say?
I was told Clay to watch out for that hole.
Wow, 3-1 jokes. Wow.
Ooh, that was a cheap shot.
That is a cheap shot. Wow.
There we go, Clay.
I can't catch a break right now, man. Hey, man. Hey, you hate to see it. Let's go, Clay. Talk to him, Dre.
That boy Dre
How
all in
over
the
here talking about 3-1?
That boy putting the big ass shoes all in the line.
Like Joey Burrow.
He's stepping all in your line.
Home a year ago. Oh, you talking about 3-1? They just want to Super Bowl.
Like Joe Burrow didn't send your ass home a year ago, and then Von Miller. They just won the Super Bowl. It's so great. Because Klay Thompson barely missed a long putt. And that's when they all went, oh, and then Klay can't catch a break. But what was funny is Mahomes pointing out that Draymond is like hugging Klay right next to the cup. Steph still has to putt from the exact same spot. And Draymond's just walking around and Pat's going just all up in his line. Just all walking all around the line. You know, Joe Burrow sent your ass home a year ago. They just won the Super Bowl.
A year and a half ago.
Yes. I don't care. Still bothered by the 3-1. Still bothered by the 3-1.
But they've come back from 3-1 too.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Bothered by the 3-1. That's the one that got away.
You know,
they
when
got
there was
4
a chance to say that, if Draymond would have said that instead of going, wow,
Yeah.
Draymond's got to be quicker on his toes
Absolutely.
there.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be bringing up Joe Burrow 30 seconds later.
Yeah. Which then Charles Barkley talking about Draymond and the trash talking he was having during the match. And Barkley wanted to make sure that Draymond was aware of when you're going to be talking trash or not, like the fact that, you know, you don't have a team right now.
You know, Draymond talk a lot for a guy that ain't got no job.
All day.
The eve of free agency. In the
He ain't got no job. He should be nice to me.
You gotta leave it there. Leave it off to the side.
Maybe you can break some news for us after this putt goes down there, Draymond.
Yeah, Dre, you going to Detroit on the red eye tonight, or you going back to the Bay?
Talks a lot for a guy that ain't got no job. He's unemployed right now. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the match last night. It was a lot of fun. And I tweeted out after it was over that, you know, a football team winning in June is typically reserved for the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
So the Chiefs now have taken that mantle from the Chargers as well. They got to be pissed about that. They got to be pretty upset. But my tweet didn't make it on TNT. Like
Somebody
Doug Stewart's.
Yeah. We started tweeting a lot more once we saw they were pulling tweets.
Yeah.
I didn't see any more.
Yeah. I was like, so do I go like quantity or quality? Like, I don't know, do I just start throwing them out there and maybe one sticks? Or just like really thinking and marinating on one for a while. But, this is going to be good. This is going to get them. Didn't matter. Did not matter either
I thought my Travis shorts looked like shorts from drapes from a bad motel. Tweet would have made it, but it didn't.
Yeah, that's a good one. But
Yeah.
instead they got the GQ tweet about Travis Kelce. So they were loving the shorts that were there. All right, let's figure out who is going to raise the roof this weekend.
I'm hoping to figure out who's going to raise the roof this week, and I'm hoping that tonight it's Alec Marsh.
Let's do
I would
it.
love to see in his debut what he'll bring to the table. I know who's going to bring great stuff to the table every single time, though. That's Shamrock Roofing and Construction, where one call does it all. There's a whole lot going on at Shamrock, including out at the Monarchs. Tonight is Dot Proud Night. You can go out there, grab a free T-shirt to the first 500 fans, courtesy of Shamrock Roofing. Dot Proud Night means celebrating everybody from Wyandotte County. Also, you can check out all the way up through the 4th of July the DeSoto VFW at 33. I'm going to give you the full address here. 33725 West 84th Street in DeSoto, Kansas. They got a fireworks sale going on out there from 8 to 10. Great times, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. through the 4th of July. Proceeds there go to Cars for Heroes. 10% discount to all veterans and first responders. And you can help benefit a great place that Shamrock works with, that we work with a lot with Cars for Heroes. So all of that brought to you by Shamrock Roofing and Construction, Kansas City's local residential and commercial roofing contractors, where one call does it all.
Well, let's hope Alec Marsh is raising the roof tonight, and we'll see what happens this weekend. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Cuts before the show is over next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810.
All right, Friday edition of The Zone, wrapping things up here. Final segment of the week. 913-912-4810 is the text line. Has been the text line throughout the show. Text says, think about it like a pie. The size of the pie stays the same. The Royals just want a bigger slice, which means someone else, probably local businesses, won't be getting that money. I mean, yeah. And then the Royals are saying, well, we're not getting the money. We're giving that money to the local businesses that are building the stadium. That what it costs to build is what we're paying the construction workers and those that are building the area out and helping with the infrastructure, which is one of the things that he talked about yesterday. But I do think when you say that there's going to be transparency, you probably need to have a little bit more in detail of what the community benefit will be with the organization. Like how this specifically will, instead of just, well, it's public-private because there's a huge benefit to the community with this. It's like, I know, but if you're going to sell that, you're going to have to be more specific on, we think this will happen and this will happen over there and that will happen over there. And this is what we're going to do with that neighborhood here. And here's how much money we're going to give back in the community here. And these are the jobs that it's going to create. And this is that. When it gets closer to the ballot, I think they'll have all those answers. All right. Cuts. Let's hear what happened this week. Huh? Who leads the Royals in starts? I said Trey Lyles. You two said Brady Singer.
You were really wrong.
I'm not going to win that one. Plus, Trey Lyles isn't starting tonight. Neither is Jordan, which is tough for those that said Singer or Greinke, because now Jordan Lyles falls behind them and starts. Keep going.
You know, we live in this world where we just assume everybody knows so much about sports, except for Josh. And
nice.
The golf was fun, though.
Kidnap him from his new job and just drag him out here to.
I mean, he can have it delivered to us. Okay, it's fine. I mean, it's like if you took part in this.
But wait, if he doesn't want to do that, can we kidnap him then?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
Kidnapping is certainly part of this whole thing. Yeah,
I've never kidnapped or kidnapped.
Well, I mean, Beards texted us, said, yeah, I was listening to the ZOUs. Don't worry, I'm off on Fridays. So if he loses, he's let us know that he can buy us lunch.
He also listens closer when he doesn't work here than he did when he did.
Yeah, he never texted us during the show. We were typically texting him saying, hey, man, can you look up at the show and can you play this? I know you're looking at your phone right now. There you go. You got it. Thanks. Rawr, rawr.
You said that so aggressively that I've changed my tune and wet my pants.
Rawr, rawr. Just want to hear that over and over.
Me too. That one's great. I'm really happy with that.
There's about 3 inches of space for that to happen. Rawr, rawr.
Was that the Red Stallions reference?
Yes.
So.
Yes, it was.
Ryan Seacrest.
I'm not excited about that.
No, who is excited about that?
Yeah.
I'm not.
Rawr, rawr.
When I was in the zone, it wasn't hard. Just showed up. Seren is always so kind and encouraging to me, like, hey, man, you got there.
Oh, so we found
there
somebody.
When they won, I moved back, and what happens? The Chiefs win a Super Bowl.
Hey, I mean,
I'm just saying.
Me and Sixers fans wish he'd move back.
He's very in love with his voice, isn't he?
Sterling? He's in love with everything about himself.
Yes.
Look at him, though.
Yeah,
he's glowing right now. Is he with child? Look at that.
We got one online comment today, and it was just somebody wanted to know where Sterling got his shirt.
Rally House.
It's dumb.
Not the shirt.
Is that about Sterling
or
still,
Rally
or?
House or anything. Maybe that's just in general. I don't know. Rawr, rawr. So tell me about this Mick. Is he good looking? He's got a great personality. Right, but would I be attracted to him?
Oh my God, you should.
He's
see
going to
his
make you laugh.
personality.
He is going to make. You talked. Remember, Jeff, your ex-boyfriend. He didn't make you laugh. You talked about that all the time. This person will make you laugh. But will I be attracted to him? You're going to have so much fun.
Jeff, happy birthday, Jason.
Happy anniversary, Mick.
Thank you. Do you want to go out with my wife and me tomorrow night? Just us three?
It does not matter how crappy the Royals are. The best they can pick in 2025 is 10th. So if the Royals have the worst record in baseball next year, they will have the 10th pick in the draft. That's really cool for baseball in trying to, well, we don't want teams to tank. They're not trying to. They just suck.
It's baseball's version of just like dunking on a toddler and yelling, "Get good, scrub!" Well, yeah, but I'm only 6 years old. I'm not very tall. Sorry about it. Grow, I guess, punk.
Backing down my 7-year-old son in the driveway, then dunking, going, weight room!
Wait, too small.
Damn it, I was going to do that.
Too small.
I'm going to do the too small symbol and
Like,
walk
Dad,
away.
your hand is still above my head. Like, you're not even low enough to the ground.
I know. That's what I'm saying. You're too small
You're
here.
too small.
Sorry. Too small.
Wish somebody would have said that to me at the little K, but...
Trust me, the structural engineering on this thing, I get, doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
That could
These
be about
people have never driven from south of the river to north of the river and I-35 because that is not the loop you get rid of. The loop you get rid of is the south loop. The north loop is the only way because if you got rid of the north loop, traveling on I-35 would be an absolute, utter disaster.
Matt's very specific about which loop he likes and which loop he doesn't like.
Are they going to get rid of, is this 435 loop?
He's talking
Why would
about
you get rid of-
loops and stadiums and things and which stadium goes where and loops and south and east and north
I think
and west
we need
loops.
an 835 that goes around 435 now. That's how much this city's expanding.
Yeah.
What's going on? Where am I going? What is this
You were
place?
so scared that you don't even remember it.
Yeah, I mean, it was
Put
just
it out of your memory.
Where am I? Who are you?
Put me back in.
I don't know what's going on. Why are you cutting that? Leave that alone. I can't move. What's going on? I gotta poop. Where am I? Who are you?
Put me back in.
I don't know what's going on.
This is your birth, right?
yeah, I remember.
What's going on? I gotta poop.
Yeah, that was I remember when I was born. Yes, that's what I was thinking at the time. We'll take a time out. We'll come back. We'll give a little bit more work to Matt Derrick before we let him go. Where's that next?
Why is that funny?
I don't know why he was getting that work.
Rawr, rawr.
Why does that keep making me laugh every time?
The rest of the ones in that folder, Drake, from a week or two ago,
my
are still
goodness,
fresh.
man.
They did, some of them didn't make the cut
Really
last
good
week,
today.
too.
There's one that was
No,
really
I mean,
good today.
look, you know, Totter, I mean, those are all good
That's
questions.
right. Yes, Totter! Totter!
I think there's a scouting report on Jason in there, too. That's pretty good.
What?
Fired first.
I'm going to get fired.
I won't. No, I will. It's the Prince Albert
God
ceremony.
dang it. No.
The Royals have the same number of wins this month as Fetty Wap has eyes.
Oh, that was so bad.
No longer true.
You should get
He's
a
got
life.
more eyes.
Fetty Wap's had a couple of additions.
Yeah, that's what they added.
That's what they added. Royals still suck.
Rawr, rawr. All right. Mick, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Well, this is usually it's the best part of my day. Will not be the best part of my. I'm going to go to the pool. play
How many
some
hours are
golf.
you going to be there? Several?
Yeah.
Many
if
hours?
If several can count as like 3 or 4, then yeah.
A few hours?
Absolutely. Definitely a few.
How many holes are you going to play?
9.
Is that more than a several, or
That's more than several.
is that a bunch?
That's more than a handful.
Yeah.
A couple handfuls.
Yeah. How many holes can you fit in your hand? These donut holes, then.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a good one.
Yeah.
It's like, does a straw have 2 holes or 1 or 0?
I'm going to spend the next 4 days thinking about that. I'll have an
Tough.
answer for you on Wednesday, I think.
You just ruined my weekend, Mick.
You just made mine.
Yeah.
No longer am I going to work on that Rubik's Cube.
See you guys in a few days.
Men, it's summertime. That means getting outdoors, having fun with friends and family, going on vacation, and so much more. It's also the time when we celebrate Men's Health Month, which is a good reminder for all of us to keep focused on our health. This is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health. And if you're like many men, perhaps this summer you're not feeling quite like yourself. Indeed, if your energy is down, your workouts are off, if you can't sleep or your sex drive is off, it's very likely you have low testosterone. And if that's the case, you need to call Heartland Men's Health and get treated for low T